Okay, welcome everyone to this Play and Learn webinar. We're spending the first 15 minutes before we really start by warming up, doing some warm-up exercises here, because we have an exciting afternoon where we all should be fresh and agile. And from experience, we know it takes a little while to get everyone inside from the waiting room. My name is Rasmus Cherning. I'm the CEO of Creative Business Network. And I have been so lucky that Eduardo Montenegro has joined my team here in Denmark. Eduardo participated in Creative Business Cup, the competition representing Italy in 2017, was at the global finals at the City Hall here in Copenhagen, and continue with the startup Betwill that we will also see later today, not represented by Eduardo, but by one of his present/former colleagues. So this is just a little warm-up session, the next 13 minutes or so to get everyone on board inside. Oh, I see Bohan, I see Poppy Music from China has joined us, fantastic. You were in 2016. The runner-up of the Creative Business Cup. Germany won, Green City Solutions, but Poputar from Poppy Music and later the Populele has really made it, especially in China, but we'll get back to that later on. Let's just check. Yeah, there we have a Poputar, excellent. Let's just hear from Eduardo. Just make sure your microphone works and tell a bit about yourself and you're actually the one that's heading this Play and Learn initiative at Creative Business Network.
Hi, everybody. We are extremely happy to have you with us today, and I'm extremely happy to be here as well. We launched a new community fully dedicated to Play and Learn. Play and Learn comes when learning meets play, and it's also about going back to childhood and enjoy learning in a new, different way. So here today we have experts, startups, investors, many people that share one mission in life, that is making the world better, offering better opportunities to everybody and to children, first of all, but also to grown-ups, because all of us learn through play throughout the whole of our lives. So today we will witness to interesting panels, wonderful keynotes, and startup pitches. And what we aim is that starting from today, we keep on inviting each other, asking each other what we need to implement our projects and to make them better. So feel free to interact. Please make this event interesting and interacting by chatting, by making questions, and by sharing your knowledge and your experience, because today we have a large community of people who are really skilled and ready to share what they like and their competencies and their mission. So that's it, and thank you.
And yeah, we are the Creative Business Network, and within the Creative Business Network, we focus on the different sectors like fashion or music or gaming. We also focus on how the spillover is to other sectors, how creatives can help with creating a more sustainable world, providing new methods of healthcare or keeping up the public health, and also here in education. And we have actually made sure that this network isn't just something that's in an Excel sheet somewhere or in a WhatsApp group. We have a website called thisis.cbnet.com. It's actually our regular website, but just with this is, because this is our network, this is our community, it's you guys. You can find all of you in there if you sign up. So you can find all the past startups, speakers, jury members, investors. And it's like when you go to a party, or almost, where you have a large area where everyone can meet and party in the main foyer. And then there will be some rooms that are open for those that are interested in play and learn, some that are interested in health, for example. And then there's some rooms that will be closed only for those that are national partners from Africa or national partners from Asia, etc. So that's how our community on www.thisis.cbnet.com. And so these first, now 8 minutes left is to get everyone in, and we're just yapping away and making sure that you all get in there. I would just like to make sure that I can see we have Adrian Avendano here, so that's good. Do we also have Sarah Josephine George? Is Sarah Josephine George, if you're here, could you raise your hand? If not, we're in trouble. So let's see, if Sarah Josephine George is not here yet, then that's a good reason why one of my colleagues here is going to give her a call and make sure she joins us, because she's the first in line for speaking after this general introduction. So we have 3 partners for today. One is F-Success. F-Success is the platform that helps us manage all the different applications from startups for both our national finals, CBC Nepal, Creative Business Cup USA, or whatever. It also manages the startups that participated and were selected for the investor pitch. We also have the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB. And on Friday evening, they chose the winners of the IDB Play Challenge. So they actually had a similar challenge like we did on how startups using the tools of videojuegos, so video games, gaming, in teaching such as empathy, skills that you need in the future. I think you also needed empathy in the past, but hey, maybe we need more of it in the future. So with the IDB, there will also be a number of startups from that Play Challenge. Many of them are from Latin America. Some are also from Europe, but most of them are from Latin America. And at the end of today, around 5 o'clock, we'll have the top 10 pitch their ideas. And then last important partner is GST. And from GST, we have the founder, Adrian Avendano. Avendano, will you unmute and tell us a bit about what GST is and what your platform can offer startups?
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you so much, Rasmus, and thank you so much. No, thank you so much for the invite. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Rasmus, and thank you, Eduardo, for the invite. And it's great to be here and collaborating with you guys. It's really interesting initiative, and really excited to collaborate with you guys. So just to give you a little bit of background, GST, we're a global tech community. GST stands for Global South Tech. So we basically being a community for the last 6 years with the simple goal to connect emerging tech communities across the planet, right? We first started in North America, and basically we're doing connections between North America and Latin America, right? Because that's where I grew up, right? In Mexico and US. And basically throughout the years, we've been doing tech events to connect our community globally, right? But obviously in the last 8 months since COVID, we've really been focusing on how to add the most amount of value in tech ecosystems, right? And that has been through basically connecting teams, startups, and other companies who have a very specific solution, right? Very specific solution that could be a match to a problem or innovation challenge somewhere around the world. Because we've seen this throughout our communities, right? People working on very cool projects, very interesting startups, but they struggle to expand. They struggle to connect with partners in other parts of the world, right? So imagine a startup or a team from Colombia, it's sometimes very difficult to find an interesting partner in Indonesia or in Denmark or even Kazakhstan, right? So we want to make that process easy, right? So that's our goal. The goal is to basically connect those startups with specific solutions and problems that we source from corporates and other organizations, right? So basically, so yeah, I would love to connect with you. We're right now in the process of sourcing more solutions. That means startups and solutions into our platform to create matches, right? And we're also engaging with corporates and organizations who have very specific problems to solve and or innovation challenges, right? So I'd love to share the link with you. This is me on LinkedIn. I already signed up to the platform, right? And also, thanks to Eduardo, he shared with me, he created a post on your website, right? So love to share that with you also, which is this one here. I'll share that with you in the chat here as well, because that explains a little bit more about the matching engine and all the components and elements, right? This is the link I created, but that has the link to CBNet website and the post, right? So yeah, thank you so much, Rasmus. Looking forward to connect with you guys and also, yeah, learning more about the solutions you have. And yeah, anything else, just please add me on LinkedIn, and love to keep the conversation going.
Excellent. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you. And guys, check out the links in the chat from Adrian on GST, one of our 3 partners for the event today. Now, as we're approaching 2 o'clock in Central Europe, we're almost ready to get going. Just want to recognize some people here. In 2017, I got a terrible headache on day 1. And I can see the 2 guys that were the reason for that headache. Yeah, they're cheering right now. And if any of you have tried arak in great amounts, we have Bildits from Lebanon joining us. 2 fantastic guys that were in the top 3 of the global finals in 2017. Yeah, you're laughing. I can still feel a little bit of the headache. No, we had a good time with you guys, and their strategy was to get all the other startups drunk, so they either didn't show up on time for the pitching, or that they forgot their lines when they were pitching. So that actually it worked out quite well. I can also see, as I mentioned before, popular music. One of my all-time favorites. Sorry, I have to say that. I have a guitar at home. I also have an ukulele. No, I have a pop guitar and a populele at home, signed by the inventor that is present with us today from Beijing, I believe. This was popular music was our runner-up in 2016. I can also see Aviaya somewhere. I've been with you to Shanghai, where we were jumping around on hop spots. Not hot spots, but hop spots. You did quite well, and you also met with investors. I remember you didn't go home before many days after the rest of us, because you had to meet with investors around China when you were there with your startup. Who else do we have? Skolen Online. Tanya is also here. Skolen means the school in Danish, and online means surprisingly online. And actually, Tanya was the one that introduced me to something very valuable besides School Online, also Mentimeter, how you can actually engage by certain tools with your audience. And we are going to have a small Mentimeter with you guys to figure out who are you, what are you doing, where you're going, etc. We are close to 70 people now that have joined this, and we also have Mads here, Mads from Mystery Makers, and Mystery Makers joined us in 2012. The first Danish startup was voted the cultural, not event, but the cultural service, I suppose, of 2018 in Copenhagen. These are mystery tours that you can do not only in Copenhagen, but also in Vienna. And go check out Mystery Makers and Mads. There are other people I know that I recognize. Daniel Monroy, Which startup were you representing? You have to unmute and tell me about what were you doing back then?
Hi, Erasmus.
Hey,
I'm from Guatemala. I
that's
am
right.
representing Ultraludic. We are doing games for purpose, for social contents and everything.
Excellent, that's right. And you were part of the Creative
Americas.
Academy Americas. So
Yes.
we've been running these academies for startups, and we're actually, just so you guys know, we're starting on the 19th of November, an academy that will be 30 hours of training sessions with highly qualified speakers, trainers, and there will be startups from Europe and startups from Africa. We have one of the best trainers among us today, because I've seen Diva Naldal, the former, yeah, there we go. Hi, Diva. She trains the startups in working with corporates. And also, you know, the whole, how a corporate is thinking when it's thinking open innovation and working with startups. So Diva, thank you for, this will be, if you are joining us again, the third, I think the third or the fourth academy that you will help us with, along with Safa Sharif, who will be, who's one of the investors this afternoon. So now I think I can still see people are coming in. I'm yapping around here as I do. We're at 73 people. So the program is very simple: a keynote, a panel, a keynote, a panel, an investor panel where startups can, some selected startups will be pitching, and we have some selected investors. We have the highest valued company in the world. It's an entrepreneurship arm called WAED, and that's Salman T. Jaffrey from Aramco. He was in the jury in 2018. And then we have a guy that I met in 2014, I believe, in Moscow, right after Russia had taken over this peninsula, or that we don't talk about anymore. And Peter Vestabakka, he was the founder of Angry Bird. And you might think that this is just about games, but go to YouTube and then Google NASA, NASA, yes, the space agency, and Angry Birds. And you can see there's a whole series of tests with Angry Birds and pigs in space, in the International Space Station, that is done in collaboration between Angry Birds and NASA. Yes, and then we have a panel at the end with some more startups and some more good people. And then we have the Inter-American Development Bank Play Challenge, and then we'll find out who won the investor pitch. So I think we're ready to roll. Let me look at my people, my good friends here in the room. Sarah Josephine Hjort, I believe you are among us.
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
There you are. Yes, yes. Excellent, excellent. So Sarah Josephine Hjort, you're from Denmark. You are the founder of Canopy Lab. I've been told, because I haven't, to be honest, been able to use it. It's a play and learn social learning platform powered by AI. Sarah, you are the one that will kick off this play and learn webinar conference this afternoon. The Zoom is yours.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here and be able to set the stage a little bit about what are some of the trends we're seeing within play and learn, and how can all of us make a difference, especially in this within a pandemic, and for hopefully also in the post-pandemic environment. I'll go ahead and share my presentation. Great. Just 1 second, as we're all keeping up with the increasing demand for our bandwidth. So as I said, I'm going to talk about just for about 10 minutes about play and learn during the pandemic. What are some of the emerging needs and some of the emerging trends that are coming to solve those very key needs? So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Canopy Lab. And I also have the pleasure of serving as the expert on future of learning with Singularity University. And I also serve on the board of DI Digital, which is the Confederation of Danish Industry. And I try to specialize at the intersection between learning and play and artificial intelligence, and how we use new emerging and converging technologies to ultimately promote our goals, which to me are enhancing 21st century skills and ensuring that no child gets left behind, which is very tied to the 2030 agenda. So very briefly, this is not about Canopy Lab, but we are a Danish edtech from 2015. And we do two things. We sell learning platforms to private companies and educational institutions. And with the pandemic, we've experienced that huge shift. So we have, now service over 200 schools, which was a completely new segment for us just as a result of the pandemic. But we also created a free channel called The Lab, where we have partnerships with over 80 NGOs that make very essential content for youth, especially during the pandemic, about mental health and sustainability and the future of our planet. So sort of almost overnight, sections of the world began to shut down. In January and February, I was at our office in Vietnam as the pandemic hit. And I was actually at a conference in the United States as Europe was being shut down. And I don't think even those of us in learning fathomed how it would influence what we do and the responsibility all of us will have to ensure that there is some sort of harmony between pedagogy and learning and play while everyone's sent home and teachers and parents are working overtime. A lot of pioneers, a lot of researchers have come before us and sort of been a guiding star. So UNESCO has long argued that learning through play is powerful, that it's healthy for the children's development, and it's especially healthy in a crisis. And that we can't forget that we have to learn in a holistic way. So all of a sudden, when all of not just kids, but teens and lifelong learners are sent home overnight, the same principles as we have known are true when we're together are also true when we are apart. So while many of us first, the answer to continued learning through the pandemic was to look for the massive online open course movement, even if it's in version 1.0 or 2.0 or 3.0, many of us will automatically go there and say, well, then we'll just put all of the world's students into a learning management system and everything will be all right. We'll figure it out. But we have to remember that online learning management systems have been criticized for their pedagogy, and that in fact, on an open learning platform, about 93% of everyone drops out. So we actually are forced to think about learning in a different way and think more critically about the interplay between learning and play. So Jack Ma, already at the World Economic Forum in 2018, said education is a big challenge now. If we don't change the way we learn, 30 years later, we'll be in trouble. I don't think he knew it would be 2 years later, we'll be in trouble. But there was already this sense that a lot of the tools we rely on for learning aren't adequate in the digital sphere. And while technology is moving very fast and all of the systems and all of the games are improving very rapidly, usually, like there are still some fundamental underlying problems with a lot of them. One of them being that they tend to heavily favor knowledge over skills. And what I mean by that is that a lot of them are built to just test that you understood the transmission of a key piece of knowledge. For example, I learned something about, let's say, IoT, and then the systems are designed to confirm that I understood that knowledge, but not so much through interactive exercises and games that give me new skills. So I want master 21st century skills necessarily by learning through a learning management system. So there's a big call for something has to change. And the World Bank has actually come out after the onset of the pandemic and said that remote learning requires a reimagination of education. And that is very much how we see all of you come into play, because all of us here on this call will redefine and reimagine the future of education and learning and play through our solutions. So some of the emerging huge trends that I've spotted since the pandemic are, for example, the integration of learn and play at the highest level. I think the Kahoot announcement of their Zoom integration is one of the most excellent examples of this. We're taking Zoom, which can be very static and very, very much for the transmission of knowledge. And by announcing a Kahoot integration, they are putting play directly into a format that can be extremely boring and very hard to keep the students' focus. So this intersection, new kinds of partnerships, you mentioned it as well with the Angry Birds and NASA, partners you wouldn't maybe before the pandemic have thought that they would hook up with each other. But all of a sudden we see these new interesting plays and channels. We witnessed an upsurge in educational games in the categories of literacy and language, math, science, history, and physical education. And while parents are often skeptical of leaving their children too long with a game or in front of the computer or even in front of YouTube, a recent study out of the United Kingdom on literacy actually showed that 35% of children who play video games believe that they are better readers due to their interaction with games. The study also found that more than half of the participants read and write materials related to gaming at least once per month. So while it's healthy for us to keep studying, the counter effects of too much gaming, such as on our motoric skills, we actually have also historically been very hard and critical of what takes place in a gaming universe. We've also seen countless new studies that show that the social relations among students who are now, distributed away from each other is strong through gaming, where they still co-create and play. Another trend I want to highlight briefly before I'm almost out of time is also the move. So we've seen Zoom merge up with Kahoot, but here we're seeing a gaming company move closer to a straight learning play. So Lingo Kids, one of my absolute favorite apps that I use religiously with my kids, have just raised $10 million to expand into project-based learning. So they originally started as a language learning app, but they've expanded their repertoire quite a lot. But that reshift of focus of being just on language to basically could be any category of content, but supporting the project-based learning approach is extremely interesting. And it's aligned with a lot of the things that are happening across platforms right now. A couple of very fast examples I want to highlight. We will not succeed with learn or play in a remote setting unless we upskill teachers. Teachers are at the forefront of taking us safely through this pandemic. One thing that I've been a part of launching is Teacher Lab, which is a free channel for teachers by teachers that launched in July and has just over 20,000 teachers now. But it's an interactive free platform where teachers are taught how to do project-based learning and collaboration in the virtual world. Because we can't forget that most teachers have never received that training. So we have to help lift them into this new world as well. Finally, we're seeing new tech being used in different ways to save teachers time. Here I have an example of a bot we created in Canopy Lab. So this is in the course creation mode. Using artificial intelligence, natural language processing, we can almost auto-generate an entire course for you based on the content, kind of like a self-driving car. You put it in on the top and then it builds on its own. But here we build an AI bot modeled on our course creator at the office, Lise. So she can answer all your important questions about what is an engaging exercise, what kind of pedagogy should I use in my courses. So all those things that best course designer has, you can actually ask her those kinds of questions. And that's designed to spare teachers of a lot of the tasks around designing the system to give them more interactive face time with students. A final thing I want to highlight is that, as you're expanding during this exciting time where investors want to pour in money in edtech, think about how to do it in a smart way. Another slight thing we found out that saved a lot of teachers' time is that we build an algorithm that can auto-create a pedagogical exercise. So a pedagogical exercise we have on Canopy Lab called Defining is to ensure students understand key concepts of a text. So here we put in materials from the course I just showed you on gender and identity, and based on the videos and the text, the AI engine created the question in your own words, what's the difference between gender and sex? So while we tend to think about games and play as a game, I also think about it as a gamified way of making some of these boring systems much easier to operate. So how will you make a difference during COVID? How will you elevate your project or your idea or your business to the next level? I'm super excited about following the day and hearing all of your exciting ideas. Thank you so much for your time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. Josephine Hjort from Canopy Lab. Would you mind writing both the website address, the URL for Canopy Lab, and also for, if you don't mind, your LinkedIn profile, so people can connect with you there. Thanks again a lot. And you, as mentioned, you are on the board of DI Digital, which is one of our friends. DI is the Confederation of Danish Industries. Also a place where we had a good time in 2017 and on other occasions. Now by the way, before I give the word to Eduardo, who will take care of the panel, I just want to say we had a scientist join us as well. I just saw Clara Vidal Carula. She's Spanish, she lives in Sweden, and she studies how to teach science to 3-year-olds. How do you teach the concept of small? So the concept of something smaller than what you can see to preschoolers. And she's got some really interesting research coming out, or already out there, and doing some more. And I think she wouldn't mind actually connecting with some startups and to actually expand her knowledge to the rest of you. Now, Eduardo, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Rasmus. Now, I will introduce you to the first panel of today. The main topic, the main question, the key question of the panel is more entertainment, better pedagogy. We would like to ask our guests how we can merge learning and play, and how we can make edtech and learning solution more effective through play. So it's my pleasure to welcome Anna Dementieva from Exedu, the leading edtech accelerator in Europe. Matt Leans, who, as Rasmus said, is the founder of Mystery Makers, a wonderful CBC startup who makes board games for museums. I experienced it myself, and believe me, it's amazing. And Daiva Naldal, who is one of our friends, a great expert in innovation and in learning through play. She will tell us a lot. She has a great background and she learned a lot from Lego. And then we have Neil O'Toole, the pedagogy guy. Neil is one of the most expert pedagogists helping edtech startups to make their solutions effective. He lives in Finland, but he's Irish. And then we have Gemma Pepper from Australia, who runs a wonderful startup that is called AudioPlay, which delivers great solutions, learning solutions for kids. And then we have Sibel. Sibel Ihali is from Turkey. She's from the University of Istanbul. And Sibel will open us a view on play and learn in Turkey and in the whole Mediterranean area. So thanks to our guests. And now the floor is for Anna. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Thank you, Eduardo, for inviting me. All right, so I suppose I'll just share some of my thoughts and just very shortly. So I'm a program manager at Exedu Accelerator, and I've been dealing or working in the education sector for the past 15 years and the past 3 years solely in edtech education technology. And well, there are about 70 startups that went through our accelerator and hundreds more that were applying or went through our events and I have met. So it's a really interesting subject also about learning and play and the future of education. And as well as Sarah Josephine also mentioned, and I think as everybody here knows, play is incredibly important for learning. We learn better through play. I mean, that's the science of learning. And there are a ton of research that's, for example, positive emotions, they help you learn better, making mistakes help you learn better, different role playing and simulation and groups, everything helps you learn better. So everybody knows it, we have research about that, so why not bring more of that, more of playing and games into education as well. But you know, there are also lots of other questions. How do we really do it in school? And I know that other speakers, we have really great speakers, you can talk more also about gaming and learning, but I will also want to bring up the perspective of teachers, and also something that the previous speaker mentioned, that it's really, really important that we focus on teachers and we help to upskill them. Because I have seen in many edtech startups, unfortunately, that they create something that is a game, or that is something super engaging, highly competitive, and something that kids might want to play around for a while, but there is no pedagogy, or that simply doesn't answer to the needs of the teachers. And in that case, obviously you understand that it all ends up in disaster. So either teachers get frustrated because that doesn't really help kids learn better, or then another big problem is that maybe there's a good solution that's really tested, pedagogically proved, but the teachers simply don't have the skills to implement that in their own curriculum, in their own lessons. And that creates another situation in which, okay, maybe startup or innovation is good, but the teachers don't have the skills. So in that case, we really need to support them. So these are my first thoughts, and maybe I'll give the floor to other speakers and they'll jump in if you have more questions.
Wonderful, Anna. If I understand well, we need to remember that pedagogy is also about enjoying the pleasure of learning. And this is something that I would ask to Mads, who was not only able to create an interesting game for people visiting museums, but was also able to make the experience of visiting a museum something to which you learn a lot and you learn together, with the pleasure of sharing this experience with the community. So Mads, can you hear me? And yeah, please, sure. I would also ask Anna to post her LinkedIn profile on the chat so that people can reach out to her. Sorry, Mads, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like Eduardo said, I'm Mads from Mystery Makers. And I guess basically the passion of our project is to engage visitor interaction in museums, because as most people have experienced, museum fatigue sets in way too often for a lot of people. You're halfway through the museum and suddenly you get drowsy and you need to go to the cafe and get a cup of coffee. And one of the main reasons for this, of course, is that you're always passive. You're a spectator, you're not a participant. And what we are trying to do is to make everyone a participant. And we do this the most analog way we can, so we get the whole tactile experience. And we actually make a physical box and we fill it with physical envelopes. And inside these envelopes, you get clues and you get history about the place, and you experience puzzles and play that you can only do in this exact location. And that way it crawls under your skin. And if some of you have experienced escape rooms, that was part of our business that we did many years later, but we started out doing these educational games where you have to use your mind and your logic and your also actually kind of feelings, where you interact with the people you're with and you interact with the place as much as possible. And we are quite successful in doing this, and we're doing it in the two biggest museums in Austria and in a lot of places in Denmark, among others the UNESCO castle Kronborg, where Hamlet takes place in the play. And people are willing to do this a lot more than the normal museum experience. They actually pay 2.5 times the amount of money they would for the normal museum experience. So people want to learn, they want to participate, they want to be part of the location, and with the mystery hunt they can. And we take this very seriously. Of course, it's always kind of a challenge for us to explain that it's not for kids and that this is a big deal, and we spend a lot of time. But we're usually a team of around 5 people who works on a project like this for 4 months, where we analyze the place in detail and we work with the museum or World Heritage location about knowing their story and their values and sort of incorporating that into the game. But in the end, we are the ones financing and investing in this solution. So we don't have to compromise on anything, because of course, a lot of museums through the years have been trying to do this kind of thing. And where they usually fail is that they kind of make it too museum-y in a way. And we make sure that even though we are very serious about disseminating history, we also want it to be edgy and playful and easy, because we basically feel very strongly about culture being accessible and not for the chosen few or the intellectuals. So we feel that we are sort of building the steps closest to the ground on the ladder, so everyone can climb this cultural ladder. And it's a way into the museum, because sometimes, let's face it, museums can be daunting. They can be kind of scary. These are like temples of knowledge, and some people don't feel welcome. And a lot of our customers, they're like, well, to be honest, I haven't been here since I was a kid or since I was in school, but now I feel welcome, and now I want to come back with my kids or my spouse or my colleagues for that matter.
But Mads, isn't it also, Mads, isn't it also a journey into yourself, into your own being? I remember you had complaints that it went too personal and too much under the skin. So it's not just the museum that we're exploring, we're also exploring ourselves.
Yeah, true. And I guess that's why over the years it became very popular with businesses that used it as team building. But to begin with, it was, like you're saying, Rasmus, actually more about us wanting people to get to know each other better. So there are these sort of personality trait elements in the game. And it's true, we had lawyers who booked it, and afterwards they told us, you know what, I don't want to know my colleagues that well. But I guess that's unique for that kind of industry. Most people want to actually get to know each other better. And we do feel people become closer. And we have had journalists trying it out when we were launching new products, and they were like, they didn't know each other when they came. Usually people know each other when they come, but they didn't. And then we switched phone numbers and email addresses afterwards. They're like, geez, I just feel like we've gotten to know each other so well. We should grab a beer again someday. And it's actually, it starts friendships, which I'm very awed by.
Hey, Mads,
yeah.
You remember us that we need to take games seriously as children do. So we play and learn like kids with you. Thanks. I would like now to ask to Daiva, which will also join us during the investor panel to assess startups. What really makes a difference for a play and learn solution? What really makes it different and scalable and successful? It's all about business, it's about pedagogy, it's about tech, it's about design. What is the key ingredient to make it successful?
So you're saying, like, what is the key ingredient to make it business? Right. Oh, that's the $1 million question, right? And so should I post it here? But what I would like maybe to start with, just to add a little bit on the play and learn, and how and why we only talking about kids usually when we talk about play and learn. And me sort of I spent many years working for the Lego Group, and that was, for many years there was still this notion about that, we only do the products for kids, because when adults play, that was odd. you know. So they should, like, if you know, if somebody said that I'm playing as adult 10 years ago, then we would imagine somebody like very nerdy living in, you know, in the mother's basement and doing some weird stuff. And now, just, you know, 10 years after, it's the most awesome thing, because, you know, we want to be creative, everybody, not only the kids, but also adults. And now, you know, all the studies also say that, you know, we create awesome things when we play around with ideas. So it's sort of playing around at workplace. It's also legitimate. And then, you know, and that's why then more and more also kind of a good business ideas and good concepts come out when people co-create and, you know, when people meet and play around ideas. So that's sort of like the way of bringing innovation, both in the corporate world, but also within startup, is also playing around ideas. So I think the play through that is already getting commercialized, you could say. And then the next step then to answer to your question a little bit is then, of course, like, you know, everything that is meaningful and that provides the value to society or to, you know, people, of course, then has the price. And bridging that gap between the playful innovations and playful startups with the corporate world is getting more and more interesting. And there are so many success stories, among those also the, you know, the Lego group and now the Lego Ventures, and, you know, how the Lego group works with the startups and embrace that. But I, you know, see more and more companies, the corporate world, embracing those opportunities as well. I hope that sort of was linking into the overall topic.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Daiva, and thank you. Now I would like to ask Neil. Well, I met Neil 1 year ago in a cold Finnish winter, but Neil is Irish, and I think he was able to teach to all the edtech startups in the Nordics and beyond his motto, which is ed before tech. And now, Neil, I would say play before learning, or I would ask you to build on this.
For your introduction earlier, I don't think I'm an expert in pedagogy, but I'll give a quick explanation myself, and then I have just a quick slide where I've segmented that play and learning and what I think are different methods.
Oh, Neil, sorry, your voice is a bit low. If you can
Is it?
speak,
Okay, I'll come a bit closer.
Loudly.
Yeah, so thanks for the introduction, and I'll try and live up to it, but I'll start on different types of play and learning. I'm a language teacher originally. I've taught from kindergarten right through primary classroom teacher to high school. My background is in the IB, so the International Baccalaureate. Also been a teacher trainer for the primary years program and a school visitor. So within the primary years program, we come from inquiry-based learning. So I was thinking about one of the roles I have actually at the moment is Teach Millions, where we're bringing together the Nordic EdTech solutions as a marketplace. And I was thinking through some of the companies in Teach Millions when I was putting this together. So I might be able to unpack these. I'll just share the screen. Oh, can I bring that up? Or can you allow me to share the screen, Eduardo? Or actually, I've sent you the slide. You might be able to do it that way.
No, you are allowed to. Let me check.
Okay. If not, it doesn't matter. I have
Yeah,
it
you
here.
should be able to do that now. Just check.
Okay. Yeah. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought basically when I think of learning through play, I see us going the trend as being analog to digital. So by analog, I mean if we were sitting together, being in the same physical space, basically, And we call that, when we start out in the early years, we call something play-based learning. And play-based learning is very much environmental. If you think about the typical kindergarten, in Finland, we have even kindergartens in the forest where we're really surrounded by the chance to use our imagination and play. One question I have there is whether or not mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality can start to replicate that in the future. But that's on one end of the spectrum is this play-based learning where there's as little structure as possible. You're simply providing space and for learning to take place. But you also have to think, even in an earlier setting, to unpack play in terms of what kind of competencies are being developed, because you're going to have observation, experimentation, discovery, exploring, etc. So within play, you have a lot of skills actually being developed. And then we go from that, and we're getting towards my background in the IB, which is structured play, where we start to define the limits. We start to define the materials. We start to define that there's a goal or an end to it. And then right in the middle, the third one, we have what we call structured inquiry. Here it's all about who has control and has initiative. And that's the same with all these 5 versions, is where's the initiative. So with play-based, initiative is more with the learner and the student. Now it's starting to see the teacher come in as a facilitator. So typically inquiry, you're going to have an inquiry cycle or inquiry process, where you have stages that we go through together, and then stages that we can go with. So inquiry sits right in the middle of that spectrum. And then we get to what I would call game-based learning, where there is a game, but there's a clear method driving. And on the other end of the spectrum is what Anna mentioned earlier, where we get of gamification, where it's very much behavior-based in terms of, like, dopamine and reward circuitry in the brain, and the trophies and the bells and things like that. Now, Sarah Josephine picked up on that earlier, said it's very, very good when you have content that's quite heavy or could be boring, where you gamify it. That's where it works really, really well, because it makes it fun. Be careful that that fun has a purpose. So different companies, I think the companies that sit in the middle there with structured play, they're more, if you think of Ketoscience or Fun Academy kind of companies, it's good because transition between off-device play, on-device play. So it really, when I unpack it and think how we can combine learn and play, we have to say, well, where are we sitting in this? How much digitalization should we have? How much analog should we have? And how much structure should we define to it? And also, as I said at the beginning, think developmentally what age they're at, the learners, because the earlier learners need that environment. And then, the third level learners that are going through very, very heavy material at a third level, they need that sort of gamification. So that's one way to look. I will leave you with that thought, that mixed reality, how in the future, how much can mixed reality replicate the environment of play-based learning? So just on share there.
Thanks, Neil. I think that this element of establishing a new relationship with technology and trying to understand how we make technology really fit for learning and play in a reasonable way, it's something that every startup in the world is working on, if it's developing a learning solution or an ethics solution or a play and learn solution. I would move to Gemma, who is with us from Australia. Gemma founded AudioPlay, and I would like her to explain how, in her experience, is it possible to find this new relationship with technology, which is purpose-made and good for learners. Gemma, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. All good. Thanks for the introduction and for the invitation to speak. It's an interesting conversation to step into, particularly because for us, our focus has never really been on pedagogy and learning. We're primarily about play and creating amazing stories. We come from a theatre and events background. So for us, producing high quality, entertaining experience is our #1 priority. I guess to give people who are not familiar with audio play a little bit more context, we've been working on a new immersive audio experience for children. It sits somewhere between an audiobook, contemporary theatre, and podcasting. So kids essentially put on headphones and then they step into the story and they physically play out the action in real life whilst listening to the story from their character's point of view, with a complete filmic sound score, all the sound effects. But they're essentially diving under chairs, creating cubby houses, using real world objects to physically imagine this, the story world and play that out. So it's very much about entertainment. It's very much about that physical engagement and imagination. So yeah, for us, the education elements are secondary, although they're kind of quite intuitive, and we lean into the elements of the form that really work with that. So for instance, education, the imagination, that creative play, and giving kids a space to kind of imagine story worlds. And particularly in the last few months where we've seen both entertainment and education being predominantly delivered through screen-based platforms during the corona pandemic, we're really interested in how you can engage the real world. How can you get people engaging with others so it's more social, stepping away from the screen and really physically engaging in these story worlds and play experiences, because we spend so much time on screens. But there is a really interesting space to be explored where we start to look at how these creative spaces can move beyond the digital realm as we currently understand it, and how they can kind of perforate into real world. And I guess one other really interesting element in terms of the work that we've been able to do with audio play is that a number of our experiences are multiplayer. So it means that kids are experiencing the story from their own character's point of view. And it means that we can essentially step away from the binary nature of goodies versus baddies, right versus wrong. Instead, we're allowing players an opportunity to experience the same story, but from multiple points of view, and start to understand that quite often conflicts and complexity come from approaching the same scenario with different values and different backgrounds, as opposed to any right or wrong type of, there's not black and white in the world. There's no evil geniuses. It's more that there is differences in the way that we approach things. So for us, that's been a really interesting space to play, largely for us in a kind of narrative plot-based space, but also we can see a number of benefits in terms of how that can then support education and kind of helping people to understand very complex ideas through a lived experience where they physically step into those characters, feel those emotions, engage with those characters, and come to understand the real nuance of that complexity.
By the way, if any of you have questions for the speakers, it looks like we are actually on time. So if you have questions, write them in the chat, and the most intelligent ones, I don't know, we'll call out when we have time here at the end of this first panel.
Yes, Rasmus, let's make this webinar interactive. And let's jump from Australia to Turkey with Sibel Yali. Sibel, welcome. You are not only an expert in learning and history, you're also the country lead for 100 in Turkey. And Turkey is one of those nations where you do understand that we learned to play a long time ago, and this have a meaning. So, Sibel, I leave the floor to you.
Thank you. May I share my screen? I had a little presentation for you. Thank you again. For those who do not mean well known, I'd like to introduce myself. I am an educator based in Istanbul, a mentor, teacher, and innovator of shared melodies. Also act as a country lead for hundreds. And last month I was in GameFed Gamification Meetup online. It's a leading organization in Turkey for gamification, and I learned there that transformation has already started. And so today I am with you and very excited. Thanks for. I'm very happy to join you. Before deep diving into the questions for better pedagogies, I'd like to give inform you about quick facts in my country and gaming sector. As you can see on the map, we are crowded. There are more than 80 million people lives in Turkey, and more than 50 million are students in primary key 1 to 12 level, and also we have 1 million plus teachers, and we're open to the play-based education system and also gamification. And as you see, our 13 million young population we have, and with this number we have outpaced the 20 European Union member countries. And also I'd like to give some information about the gaming sector. For Turkey's this situation, both for the location and also the young people and the sector power. Turkey is seen as a station, especially from the east to the west in gaming sector. Also, Turkey has passed in the gaming market, and the 18th largest revenue in the world. And when we look at an ecosystem, which consists of over 600 large and small companies, including indies, and exports in 2018 exceeded $1 billion. So it's a huge sector for those who are interested in gamification sector. So the main question is, I told about transformation started. So how is technology changing the game, and why education require entertainment products into the system? I think it's easy to answer to this question, because we are living in next generation technologies such as virtual and augmented reality, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and haptic technologies. So education systems and we as educators need to think and act like an entertainer. And so our students want from us to do so. So how can we achieve this? One of the main questions. I think there are two ways to achieve this. First one is education systems need to forge the right partnerships with the technology-based companies, production and design, to create the immersive learning scenarios which students demand. And educators also need to combine elements of storytelling, which is very important, I think, because as a historical point of view, from Plato to today times, play is seen strong, and storytelling is seen as a strong power in learning, and also real-time feedback and sensory experiences to capture the attention of students in immersive environments. So our panel question is more entertainment and better pedagogy. Yes, I can answer for such a question. My answer is yes, because education aims to cultivate maturity, knowledge and growth, also responsibility, and to train people for deeper and more meaningful human experience. And however, entertainment aims to only amuse. So if we can intersect both of them, we see, according to the research, we see the rich delights and profound learning. I know there are some critics about play-based learning and gamification, but for a better technology, better pedagogy, we can, what can I say, come together with the high technology and the pedagogy. And there are good examples I'd like to give. Also, these are the innovations from my country. For example, Otsimo, Toyi, and Alya. Otsimo is a game-based learning application. If all is free, it can be downloaded for special education and speech therapy. The users, especially teachers, are very pleased to use such an instrument for special children, especially the children who are autism or Down syndrome. And also Toyi provides creative play tools kit for children without instructions. And Alya is also 3D printer for kids. And I don't know if we have time problems. I quickly pass through. Eduardo.
Yes.
Okay. Finally, I would like to share some links and connections for these connections: Technology Development Foundation of Turkey, the Scientific and Technological Research Council of Turkey, Startup Istanbul may be interesting, and GameFed Turkey is the main point for the gamification. Thank you.
Thank you, Sibel. I would also ask you to share your slides and your LinkedIn profile on the chat so that people can reach out to you. And now I would ask all of you guys to make questions to our panelists. So I'm scrolling the chat to check if you drop a question here, but feel free to take the floor and ask directly to our guests. Okay, Clara, since you wrote on the chat, I would like to make you a question. Last week, we met you for This is CBN Science, and you talked and you explained us how we can teach chemistry to kids on a scientific basis. So I would ask your comment on how we can merge play, learn, and science in a wise way.
Thank you, Eduardo. That's a big question. I will try to summarize it. Just a highlight from my thesis is that we found that something that was key for the preschoolers, 3-year-olds, to get down to the submicroscopic level was video animations, because it helped them bridge the gap between the abstract world of chemistry and their surrounding environment. So yeah, seeing that there are so many startups here working with software development and things like that, it will be very helpful for us. But I really want to connect with a point that several of your presentations talked about, and it's the aspect of multimodality, because we know that every individual has different kinds of intelligence or skills, however you want to use the model. But I really liked from what was the name, Audio Play, I think, the idea of like cutting down screen time and experiencing it physically in the environment. That's really important too, because some children learn better through their movement kinesthetics. So in order to reach a biggest number of students to achieve the learning goals, I think it's very important to keep in mind diversity. And that's why I praised Sibel's app, the one you mentioned for special needs, because when we talk about innovation, we usually focus on like excellence, like really for like high achieving students. But because it's a smaller sample of the population, special needs children, it's very important to help them not fall behind, but to be also immersed in these technology possibilities that they can help them. For example, if within the autism spectrum they miss these social skills, try to, for example, I know they use these pictorial images to understand reading feelings from other people. So yeah, that would be my take on like for some children it's very helpful to visualize things, but for others it might help maybe doing it through music or through their body, or so the more the bigger the how to say this range of possibilities, the highest number of children we can reach, so to speak.
Gracias, gracias, Clara.
Thank you,
Or
Rasmus.
Tuck. Based in Sweden, but from Spain, one of our scientists, and we're going to have more on those. We have every Thursday a webinar where a scientist will come forward with some recent research from the culture and creative industries. In this case, it was related to obviously this webinar on play and learn. I see that Julio Freitas also have a question, but I'm afraid that we will have to move on. But if anyone wants to answer that question, you can do so in the chat. All the presentations and all the links to LinkedIn and the chat, etc., all that can be found on thisis.cbnet.com in the group called Play and Learn, surprisingly. Now it's time for a little mental break. Thank you very much, all the panelists. And we will, before we go to the next keynote, we will do a small Menti, if I remember correctly. So for all of you who have a smartphone or have access to the internet, other than using other than what's occupied, the broadband is occupied by the Zoom, go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and use the code 1616615. So go grab your smartphone, that's the easiest, I guess. Go to menti.com and write 1616615 as the code, because we have a few questions for you so that we know, and also all the speakers know, who's in this webinar, who are present, what's going on. So Nazia, my colleague, you're welcome to launch the first question here. Here's about definition. What do you understand by play and learn?
Chinese, the Dutch, the German, the British also, they have it
Yeah, so we wanted to know a bit more about your understanding of the field, and it seems that we have a pretty coherent understanding of play and learn. Not that the majority is necessarily always right, or that there is a right and wrong in this case, but here we see about the division. Most people see that it's learning something through play. Should we go to the next question? Now we just want to know, where are you from? So we would like to know where you guys are zooming in from. Mexico, Finland, Italy, Denmark, Hong Kong. Fantastic. It is truly a global network. Bahrain, I wonder who that is. Fantastic. Quite a few from Denmark. Not so surprising. And here we have another question. Why did you choose to attend? It's always good to know. Apparently Erasmus means lovable. I'm not sure, well, something about Erasmus and Eros and love. Oh yes, that makes much more sense. Fantastic. Thank you for your answers here. It's good to know also for, this is not just a one-off. We have actually a Play and Learn event already on the 30th of November together with the Slovenian government. So there are 3 Play and Learn related events this month of November, and I'm sure there are going to be some in December, January, February, March, etc. as well. So stay tuned by joining our group. Here we have a question, one more question. Did you experience Play and Learn when you were a student? It would have been interesting to see actually if those that answered yes and no respectively came from different parts of the world or different countries with different traditions in education. And Gemma Peppa is answering, Julio, excellent. Yes, we had fun with other things back in the 1980s. And this is the end of the Menti questions. And before we get our next speaker on, let me see here, we're already 4 minutes over. Yes, we do have some small video breaks in case we needed it, but we don't need it in this case. I'd rather give the full time allotted to Paolo Andres. I have known Paolo since 2015 when he came to Copenhagen with the European Business Angel Network. He had been the president of the European Business Angel Network from 2012 to 2014, if I remember correctly. And I also remember meeting him in the business lounge of the airport in Tallinn, Estonia, where he told me about the fact that he was now focusing most of his investments in the field of play and learn. And then I tried to connect with him here recently because, yes, he is with Toys R Us Iberia, and I wasn't so successful. So I got hold of his better half, and she poked you and made you available for this. So I'm very happy to invite you in here and onto the Zoom. Paolo, I wish we could meet in real life. You are an investor, you invest in play and learn. Tell us a bit more about the particularities of investing in play and learn, because right after you, we will have a number of startups pitching, and we will have companies and investors looking at these pitches. At the end of the day, we will find a winner of this investor pitch, but why are these startups in the field of play and learn different, and why are they interesting? Why are you focusing on those? So the Zoom is yours, Paolo.
Thank you very much, Rasmus. In fact, we had a lot of fun in Copenhagen. You are really a great organizer of events, and it's always fun to meet other people and find new businesses and new opportunities. So I was asked to talk a little bit about my experience as an angel investor and investor in Toys R Us. I am the main shareholder of Toys R Us Iberia in Portugal and Spain. We bought it from the Toys R Us in the US 2 years ago, and we are changing it in Portugal and Spain, and I can share some information with you, but also to talk a little bit about how I see the startups when they approach these companies like our company, like Toys R Us. And I see a lot of problems there, and the entrepreneurs, I think, do not approach correctly these companies. I have been helping, trying to help a lot of startups to sell products in our stores. And I can tell you that 90% of them fail to provide minimum conditions for us to sell in these stores. They don't understand what we are looking for and what they need to do as well. For instance, companies that do not have a translation of their products or their instructions to Portuguese and Spanish, for instance, we cannot sell these products. So asking us to do this translation, it does make sense for us. So it's better that they need to prepare for these translations. I have a short presentation so that where I can share some of my experience. So let me see.
While you're getting your presentation out, I can tell you that Pop Guitar are Chinese guitar and ukulele. I remember speaking with them, and they were like, "Oh no, then we will have to have call centers and stuff in English. It's so much easier just to keep it in one language." But they are now over that and past that. Sorry for interrupting.
No, well, for instance, I tell entrepreneurs many times, why don't you do instructions without any words? Just put some drawings, and then it works for all the countries, you know. And some people say, "Oh wow, I never thought about it." So I think it's a good way. It doesn't solve 100%, but it can solve a little bit of the problem. So do you see my screen? Yes. Okay. So we in Toys R Us Iberia, we have sales of 142 million euros revenue per year. We have 59 large stores in Portugal and Spain, and we have more than 3 million registered clients in our databases and with the cards, with our card. And we have more than 1,000 people as staff. We have 14% of the toy market share in Portugal and Spain. You can see where we are based. Mainly, it's where are more people, of course, and the main cities in Portugal and Spain. We have, since we bought Toys R Us in Portugal and Spain, we started a change in the stores, and we decided that our motto would be, "It is forbidden not to touch." Of course, now with COVID, this is a little bit not possible, but we wanted people to go into our stores to play, to learn, to touch, and then to buy, of course. And this is being very successful. You see, for instance, one example of one of our stores before and after we changed. So when we bring play, learn, activity, interaction into the stores, people love them and they buy more things there as well. We also organize birthdays, competitions, workshops, and the product demonstrations, and this is also an income for us, and which was not there before. So now talking a little bit about why investors do not invest in startups. I see, as you know, Rasmus, I've been an investor for many years, and I'm still investor. I have a portfolio of around 11 companies. One of them is Toys R Us. And where I see the big problem is that the entrepreneurs focus on themselves and try to focus on the potential of the project or the idea, but they don't think why the investors do not invest. Only between 1 to 3% of the projects that are introduced to investors receive funding from them. So why is it so low? So there are two studies that I strongly recommend any entrepreneur and any investor, of course, to also have a look. One is why business angels do not invest in some projects, and the other one is on the CB Insights in US, the top reasons why startups fail. And for those that are not so aware of this market related with investors, they can be surprised with the answers. And the main reason, 87% why investors didn't invest in some deals, is because the project had too many risks. If we ask this question to normal people that are not investors, they would say because the project has no potential. But if you see here, only 7% of the projects didn't have enough return for the investor, so they didn't have enough potential. So this means that 93% of the projects, if they really happen, then the investor would be very happy and he would be able to invest. But because the investor is afraid of the execution, because everything is related with the execution, then he doesn't invest. The second reason is about the valuation. And this is one of the biggest problems I see in the market, because some entrepreneurs hire some experts, some consultants, some investment banks that create very good valuations, very nice, beautiful presented, but in the end is about the future that we are talking. And when I receive a valuation from a startup, very well done, I ask the startup where the people that did this valuation, to ask them if they know any company 5 years ago that pitched 5 years ago and the project really happened exactly how was in the business plan. Because of course this does not happen. So we need to understand that all business plans are wrong. They will not happen. They can be better or they can be worse in the future, but they will not happen. So how can we, with the wrong data, have a miracle process that brings a fantastic valuation? This does not happen in real world, but entrepreneurs get these valuations and then they get they don't move very much in terms of these valuations, and then investors do not invest as well. So there is a need of teaching entrepreneurs how to approach investors concerning this process of valuation as well. Then another question that of course was asked is, if the project risks are reduced, your willingness to invest increases, and 96% of the investors said yes, it will increase. So what is important is to understand why and which entities can fund the business and why this is relevant. So here in this chart that I did this chart, so I also did some play and helped to learn as well. The probability of an entrepreneur to raise money for his venture or her venture. And on the other side, we have the mitigated risks. In terms of the mitigated risks, what are the main risks in any business? The market, if there is a market for the project, how is the competition to react? Then the team, the entrepreneur. Then the legal risk, if it's legal, do you have the license? Are you infringing any patent? Then the financial risk, are you dependent on one client? Are you dependent on funding from a bank? And then we have the operational risk. Do you know how to do it? Is what you want to do? Is it the first time or not? So why is this relevant? Because there is some entities that usually entrepreneurs say very, very bad things about them, is called the banks. These banks, the banks only accept a very little risk. If the project has a lot of risk, the banks will not invest, it will not give the loan. Then the entrepreneurs need to go to mutual guarantees, which is the entities that will give a guarantee to the banks in case of default from the entrepreneur. And if there is more risk in this process, then the entrepreneurs need to go to the venture capitalists, and then they need to go to the business angels, and then to the crowdfunding, and then of course to the ICOs, the initial coin offering that is still popular in some parts of the world. From this point, the only thing that is possible for the entrepreneurs is to raise money from family, from friends, from some people called fools, because there are always fools around the world. I never say that it's impossible for anyone to raise money for anything. And of course, from the state. We see some states around the world giving grants to entrepreneurs, giving some funding, loans to entrepreneurs that do not have any possibility of success. So, and why is this relevant? Because 95% of the projects that are presented to investors are on the left side of this chart. So they don't have any chance of getting money. And this is really important. So entrepreneur needs to do two things. One is to believe that the government will tell all these entities that they will need to accept more risk. And if the entrepreneur believes in this, then just relax, wait for the future will come. If you don't believe in this, then you need to mitigate the risk, to reduce these risks in order that your project can be funded by investors.
Paolo, here at the end, how are play and learn startups different? Are there greater risks because it's more difficult to assess whether something will be playful or whether the learning will take place, or how are they different?
I think I don't see any difference between play and learn companies and other companies, because you need to first do experiment and see if the people like, and if the people enjoy, and if the people are willing to pay, or the people or companies, whatever. So you need to do a kind of MVP and verify that there is a need for your product, and then you talk with clients. If you are trying to sell business to business and you approach an investor and you have never talked with a potential client, just forget, something is wrong with you. So you need to mitigate this risk in terms of the market. Another thing that is important is the real risk versus risk perception. Sometimes entrepreneurs think that investors know everything about the sector or know about the project, and they don't know. So you need also to reduce the risk perception. Of course, it's important to focus on the high impact and high probability risks and not on the other ones. And in some countries, there are tax breaks and other ways to reduce the investment risk. So for entrepreneurs that, for instance, in UK, Malaysia, and other countries around the world, Turkey, for instance, I was a speaker before me, you can also focus approaching the investor with these tax breaks for the investor, and this reduces their own risk, the investment risk. So finally, what you need to do is to identify these risks that and reduce them and increase a bit your own risk as well, so that the investor sees that there is some skin in the game and not something like I will just get the money from investors, and if the company is successful, I will be a millionaire. If the company is not successful, the investors lose the money, I do something else. So this kind of mentality does not help to fundraise. And so instead of 80% trying to fundraise and 20% mitigating the risk, it should be the opposite. 80% mitigating the risks and 20% then fundraising, because it will be much easier. So after you identify, you need to level to understand which risks are the more impactful and with higher probability. And then for each of these risks, you need to eliminate, reduce, transfer, or accept. And you need to continue this process. And I hope that I have given some examples of what I think that the entrepreneurs need to do in terms of being more successful fundraising.
That was excellent, Paolo. Thank you very much. Thank you. I wonder if you have time to hang out for the next 40 minutes or so, because we will have a number of startups that will actually be pitching, and you're welcome also to join in asking some questions along with the investor panel. But thank you. This was Paolo Andres from Toys R Us and former eBand president. Now we will hear some startups pitching, and Eduardo will introduce the startups.
Yes, we have 8 wonderful startups pitching today, and we'll also make a tour of the world with them. So we will start from China with Poputar, and there is Marketar. Then we will listen to SuperTho from Malaysia with breakthrough escape rooms. And then we will go to the United Arab Emirates with a wonderful startup, Lamsa EdTech, who will explain us and pitch about their platform for children. Then we will go to Lebanon to listen to Buildings and their wonderful construction tool to make your own house with your own hands. And then we will go to Egypt, where 5DVR will introduce us to the world of virtual reality. And then we will fly back to the Nordics, to Finland, Ketoscience, and their wonderful solutions for kids. They are also popular in Asia. And then we will land here in Denmark with Anticipate, augmented reality for history, and with our last startup from Denmark, which is CXD Hotspots, a wonderful tool that enables kids to move and learn through their body.
Thank you, Eduardo. Now I have the pleasure of introducing the investor panel. Some of you I already know from past events, including Elena Bonifaci from Pearson. We have Sara De Benedetti from Oltreventure, Andrea Lombardo from Giunti Editore, I hope I pronounced this right, Amit Gupta from NCR Education, Salman G. Jaffrey from Aramco, more precisely Wayed, who was also a jury member back in 2018. Then we have Ratnesh Kumar Jha from Barlington Group, Enrico Poli from Santicelli Ventures, and last but not least, also a jury member from 2018 and 19, Safa Sharif, and also one of our Creative Business Academy very cherished lecturers, Safa. So these are now we know the startups, we know who are in the investor panel. So you know, Peter Vestabakka has also joined us, and maybe Paolo is also hanging around. But Eduardo, you're going to run the actual pitching, so I'll give it over to you.
Thanks, Rasmus. Just a few words to remind all the startups the rules of the game, because you know we are playing today. So the pitch will be 3 minutes. You can show a maximum of 10 slides, be quick and effective. After the pitch, you will perform 2 minutes of Q&A from our investor panel. And last rule, which is the most important, enjoy yourself. So let the game begin with the pitch decks, and I will ask Poputar to join the floor.
Hello, everyone.
And while Poputar is getting their PowerPoint up,
yeah.
On there. Yes, you are there. I'm just going to say we're going to take the investors as you raise your hand, or if you write in the chat that you have a question. So whoever comes first, more or less. And we are ready for Pop Your Music and Poputar.
So hello, everyone. I believe that everyone can hear us. So it's an honor to tell you about this amazing product. It's a smart instrument, and I'm pretty sure that in the next 3 minutes, all you guys will be amazed. So let's begin. Our product and our vision.
Can you see the
slides?
Presentation?
The presentation? Yeah, if you can, I will just start the presentation. Okay. Yeah. So our vision is to visualize the way you play music. You know, now guitar is a lot of people's dream. They dream of playing it, but so few of the people just can really learn to play. So that's why we want to invent and play and learn a guitar. And before guiding you into it, let's see a small movie about it. Yeah, so basically to visualize the way you play music is our main idea. And the way we transform a traditional guitar to a smart guitar is that we start with dealing with how to, where to, and when to do as a help of your guitar learning. So you know the guitar learning, you always want to figure out where to put your left finger on the guitar board and how to play with your right hand. So we built 144 LED lights inside the neck of the guitar. So you know, you can see the finger position just where it is. And plus app, the app is Music Couple, Pop Music app. This app is just like a Guitar Hero. You can play with every stage and pick up the guitar skill you need as a beginner. So the business model is pretty simple and clear. For the hardware part, we do smart instruments. You can see the finger position and you can buy it with a sexy price. And for the software part, we are trying to build a music platform where you can see the music, see the notes, and see the rhythm along with it. Especially we're developing our immediate feedback on the app section. And for Puppeteer, you know, it's not a new.
Okay, guys, time's up. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So just add one more sentence to it. Yeah, our Puppeteer now is on the Indiegogo section. So I will just add the link into it. So the good news is you can now buy it even you are not in China. So stop thinking about it and buying it with and pick up your first guitar song in the next maybe 3 to 5 hours after you receiving it. It will be a dream
thank you
for your Black Friday. Thank you.
Now it's time for Q&A from investors. Enrico Poli has a question. Go, Enrico.
Thanks, Eduardo, and congratulations, great product, very interesting. I'm curious, in your material, I see that you plan to release around 10 new products per year. So I was curious about what you see coming in the future. How can you? I don't think there are so many instruments. So what will be your next product?
Our next product is the second product of our company is Pop Lily, the smart ukulele, and the third one will be a pop piano. We are not trying to build a big piano, a large one. We are trying to build like a keyboard, a mini keyboard. You can take along with you and still connect to the app, and I will show you how to play and accompany with your learning stage. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? How many guitars and populators have you sold so far?
Yeah, it's in the PowerPoint. I think I can show you one more slide.
But just give us the figure. How many?
Yeah, the figure
roughly.
300,000 pieces have already been sold in China and across the globe. So we reach about 20 million to 3 million RMB each year, the revenue on the globe. And for the past 4 to 5 years, we almost reach 100 million RMB in total. That's only by the two products, Puppeteer and Pop Lily. So you can see the power of the consumer tech. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. There's one more question from Sarah, and then we will move to the next startup.
This is Sarah from Italy Ultra Venture. You said sexy price. What is the price compared to a normal traditional guitar?
Yeah, you see the guitar is in my hand. Yeah. It's like a traditional guitar, but the neck of the guitar is sexy. And you know, in China and overseas, a normal traditional guitar price is almost like $200, $250 plus, and you have to buy a bunch of courses, which maybe I see $100 an hour. I think it's the average price. And the total price of our product is about $250, around that. So you not only buy a guitar, but still you can save all the courses cost, especially the beginning part. So in total, you may save thousands of dollars on the first period of staging. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Now we will move to the next startup, and I will ask Kelly Lo from Superdo to get ready from Malaysia. Kelly, let us know if you're here, and at the same time, the judges are voting the startup speeches through F6S.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear well. You can start your pitch. Go.
Yeah, I will do a stand-up pitching.
Yes,
and let me just share my screen. Let me know whether my screen is shared. Can you see this?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, I'll start now. Okay, no matter how old you are, all humans are constantly looking for happiness and excitement in life. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kelly, and I'm one of the founder of Superdo. Today, I will pitch with you Play and Learn Challenge. So, three of the major issues of traditional education system is that it is done in a very boring and restrictive environment. It is based on memorization, and it is rigid and non-collaborative. However, think about learning while you play. Playing in an immersive environment where you could be an astronaut looking for a new planet, or maybe a descendant of Tesla looking for free energy. This kind of play can promote critical thinking and creativity, at the same time enhance communication and teamwork. Sounds cool? This is what Breakout Escape Game is doing right now. Breakout Escape Game is a concept where you'll be locked in a room and you'll be given a mission to break out in 16 minutes. You have to work with your team to solve all the puzzles in the room, at the same time break out within a timeline. Breakout is a proven concept or business model where we have built more than 56 escape rooms around the world, and we have more than 500,000 of people play our game. We have also organized more than 1,500 schools and companies' team buildings. Right now, Breakout are doing a new concept called Breakout Box, where it is a portable escape game in a box. This Breakout Box can be reused in all the games that will be updated online, and is in a very good frequency. And the most interesting part is that player can also design its own set of puzzles to compete against each other. So who are we? We are a bunch of young and creative people that are passionate to bring immersive, unique, and memorable experience to all. Our company, Superdo, have two distinctive brands, namely Breakout Escape Game and Haunted Interactive Horror Experience. So why choose us? First of all, it's infinite possibility. The game itself has an infinite possibilities that are suitable for children from 6 years old up to 60 years old. We are a talent bank of young and creative people that are ready to bring our business to the next level. With the right opportunity, we believe we'll be able to help to grow exponentially. Third, it is a scalability. Our business is scalable. And the last but not least, the business itself is a sustainable business, where after all, we are in a business to provide happiness and excitement. As I mentioned earlier, no matter what age you are in, humans are constantly looking for happiness and excitement in life. Thank you so much, and I'll open the session for a Q&A.
Wonderful, Kelly. Thank you. So now it's time for Q&A.
Yes.
Okay. Kelly, so thank you so much for bringing this, and this is a very nice initiative, but I would like to understand how scalable is that, and what are the challenges you will face when you have to scale up exponentially?
Right now, as I mentioned earlier, we have built more than 56 escape rooms around the world. So the scalability is that you could build just one room itself within a 250 square feet space. So the investment level is not too high. One room could cost about $20,000 US, up to $40,000 US. So it depends on the space that you are building and where you build this. So to that investment level that is so low, to open up a game or a business is actually a very good business model, I would say. Let me just share with you again. Yeah. Have I answered your question? So?
Yeah. Thank
you. And thanks, Amit, for your question. Is there another question for the investors?
Can I talk, Eduardo? Yeah, do you hear me? Okay. We have installed escape room in one of our stores, and it was very popular during let's say 2 months until everyone has done the game. So I think here the challenge, and this can increase a lot, if it's something that is possible in the same room that does not cost for the stores, to have 20 or 30 different games, and this of course has to be with internet and with the digitally new games. So I'd like to understand how this can fit in terms of store and how flexible are to change from one escape game to another escape game.
You have a very good question, actually. What you have said actually would be an issue for most of the escape game owners. That's why we are coming up with this new model called Breakout Box, where it is portable, can be played anywhere in the school or in the house. And the game itself, we will be uploading it online, where the box itself can be reused to play different kind of games. That's why we come up with this idea where we know that part of the issue right now, especially when there is COVID, a lot of places will not be able to open up for people to come and play. That's why we bring the game to your house instead of, we have it in other retail store. But back to your question, how can we make this possible or easier in more team room is that we do explore also ways to build escape games where we remain the structure, but then we change all of the puzzles and the team inside of the room. So the investment model for the second build up is much more lower than the first one.
Okay, send me some information because we can be your clients if the price is correct. So even if you don't get the investment, because the best money is not from investors. Forget investors. The best money is from clients. This is the best money for any entrepreneur.
This is a great result of the day, Paolo. Mentioned corporate startups and investors in the right way. So good thing.
Send me an email, please.
Time is running, so I need to shift to the next startup. I see that Ratnesh has a question for them. We can keep it. Now I need to move to the next startup, which is Lamsa EdTech from the United Arab Emirates, and I will leave the floor to our friend Bad Ward. We cannot hear you. Now we can. Okay, go.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Welcome to Lamsa EdTech. We're an online educational platform that's empowering children by democratizing access to early childhood education. We do that through personalized and fun learning experiences. My name is Badr, and I'm the founder of Lamsa. There are over 2 billion children across the world, with the exception of the elite few. Most of them lack access to high quality early childhood education. This is extremely unfortunate because it's a period of development which only comes once, with really long-term consequences of life outcomes. The foundations of both lifelong learning, behavior, and health are laid down in early childhood. This is where Lamsa comes in. We have built a holistic approach to early childhood education, where we couple the latest in technology and content to create early childhood lessons. We've built a strong learning framework and broke it down into learning journeys that guide children through their learning experience. And since we believe that every child is unique, we are harnessing the power of big computers, machine learning, and AI to provide each and every child with their own unique learning experience. We've also created fun integrated assessments before and after the lessons. This helps us to determine a child's learning profile and progression plans across key developmental areas, paving the way for real, true, personalized learning journeys. All of our work is driven by research, and so we adopt the theory of change framework to assess impact. One interesting thing that I wanted to mention, just to show you a bit of how progressive we are, we're developing with a NASA scientist the first of its kind space education and awareness program for young children, and this will be rolled out globally. We believe because we are an online education platform targeting children wherever they are around the world in the foundational years, we believe that our offering is highly scalable, empowering children across the world. So far, we have over 17 million users that have benefited from our learning activities across the fields of language, cognitive, social, emotional, and 21st century skills. We're driven by our primary business model, which is subscriptions. And we've also been recognized by the likes of Forbes, Amazon, and the World Economic Forum.
Okay, Bud, time's up.
All right.
Thank you.
This is possible due to our awesome team. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you. And I leave the first question to Ratnesh, if he has one. Hi, my friend.
Yeah, hi. I think I have a question here. I think it's very interesting to see.
We cannot hear you well, Ratnesh. Maybe you can write your question on the chat or check the mic. Meanwhile, if there is another question.
I'm curious about the content production process, how you were able to, by the way, great product. Thanks again for your presentation. I'm curious how you were able to optimize. It seems a very content-based app. So I'm curious about how you make it work.
Yeah, when we first started, it was extremely difficult, as you mentioned, because the world of animation and technology are usually not working very closely with each other, specifically for interactive devices. So we had to build our own practice, which we call interactive media design, which we take, we had all talents work under one roof to create that experience. We did lots of mistakes at the beginning. We still do a lot of mistakes, but we optimized the process. And it needs to be, we found that the best solution is for the entire process to be working together under one roof, where you optimize all the way from storyboards, illustrations, animations, technology, music, and the education process together and streamline it across the board. But it's not easy at all. So you're right. Very good question. It's very painful.
Thank you.
Okay, Ratnesh, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Ratnesh, your voice is very broken. Like we hear a computer version of Ratnesh.
Yeah, they say we cannot hear you, unfortunately. So maybe you can write down your.
Yeah, I'll do that.
There was one more question from Helena. Is it possible to better understand the product solution? Can you give us some examples?
Maybe you can mute Ratnesh because his voice is affecting, I think, the entire room.
Sorry again. This is Elena's question. Is it possible to better understand the product solution? Can you give us some examples?
So because we're in the concept of play and learn, so basically a child would just, everything that I said, the child doesn't see. The child downloads the application with their parents and just starts choosing their avatars, choosing their journeys, and just starts playing. So we have, the product itself to a child looks like a game, but everything's mapped out to our educational curriculum with progression and reporting that goes to the caregivers. So essentially to the child, it's just a fun game.
Okay, sorry. let's move to the next startup and to Lebanon. Build It. Are you ready?
Hello. Hi.
Okay, go.
Okay. Can you see the shared screen?
It's coming.
So
Yes.
hi, I'm Ryan. And I'm Wael. Okay. I'm Ryan. And I'm Wael. And we are the co-founders of Build It. Throughout our years in school, we never had the chance to really experiment what we were learning. We never had the space to imagine, to create, or even to try. There was always right or wrong. This drops the retention of information in class to only 5%, but it will go up to 85% if you add experimentation to the theory.
So we gathered a team of 5 friends and decided to find a solution. This is exactly why we created Build It. Build It is a construction educational toy that replicates the real construction process using real authentic mini tools. Kids will have the opportunity to build their own house with their own hands. They will design the house and live a real construction experience. Let's show you a small demonstration. So now if you can please put us on full screen. First, we mix the cement and pour it, as we can see here. Then we will use mini bricks. We will use mini bricks to build the masonry walls and the small trowel. As you can see, Ryan is building now the walls. And finally, we will paint the house. Et voila. Now if we can go back to the original presentation. Other than being just a toy in a toy store, UNICEF helped us develop a curriculum to use our kit as an educational tool in schools. We noticed that the current education system doesn't develop the soft skills that are crucial for the 21st century. And with the help of pedagogical experts from UNICEF, we developed a curriculum that focuses not only on engineering, but also on developing problem-solving skills, divergent thinking, imagination and creativity, and many other skills through our kits.
In 2020, despite the economic situation of our country and the global economy, due to the pandemic, we had $250,000 in sales. We initially had contracts in school for around $600,000, but they stopped due to the lockdown. These sales are only in Lebanon, a small country with a very difficult economic situation. So if you scale those numbers to developed country, we have a huge potential market. We are seeking for $300,000 in investment in order to achieve our goal of reaching $10 million in sales in 2023. With this investment, we will start by optimizing our kits to have a cheaper option that can be mass produced. In February next year, we will finalize the deal with schools in the Middle East, like in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, or Bahrain. We already started in the UAE and the schools are showing a lot of interest for next October. We will then attend the biggest toy fair in the world in Nuremberg to seal the deals for the retailers for Christmas. We already went last year and many distributors are still contacting us.
Okay, guys, time's up. Thank you. Okay. There is room for one question from investors because we need to check the timetable. Yes, Safa, go with a question.
Thank you, guys. That was very impressive and very interesting as well at the same time. So 2 questions in one. What's the price range that was not mentioned in your presentation, and how do you place yourself against Lego? I think that has the same sense of a business.
Okay, so our price is the end price for if someone wants to buy it from the store. The small kits is for $20. The big kits is the intermediate kit is for $60, and the big one is for $120. But it will go down next year after the investment. As for where we stand against Lego are a role model for us, of course. But I think it's a different approach. We are trying to have a real construction process on a small scale.
Okay, wonderful. Let's move to Egypt now. Majed, are you ready?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I think I am.
Okay, just share your screen.
Give me a second. And voila. Can you see it now? Huh?
Yes.
Okay, so first, it gives me great pleasure to be present with you today. Such a an amazing collection of startups and speakers, investors. Again, let me introduce to you our company. 5DVR is an XR studio pioneering the creation of AR and VR solutions. We have been creating AR solutions since 2011 when the hype started in the world, and we've introduced virtual reality to the region with the beginning of 2013 with the early prototypes of Oculus. Our team, almost 20 now, consists of specialized interface designers, developers, filmmakers, and producers. This is our global footprint. And let me tell you, while we're talking about play and learn, we totally believe that education is one of the most important pillars in our company, but we're looking at education for a different purpose, more like training and enterprise training. These are all samples of the custom, let's say, training solutions that we provided to some of our customers. So this one, for example, this is a current project that we're doing for the Higher College of Technology in Dubai for the safety emergency evacuation. This is another one done also for the Dubai police in Dubai for investigation, crime scene investigation, the procedure to follow when conducting a crime scene. A similar training platform was done also for Dubai Airport for the firefighting. This is one of our, let's say, IPs, while most of our products are done on service basis. This is a team building VR experience that we have just launched at the beginning of this year, and then the corona came to stop it a bit. It's a VR, a team building experience on Oculus Quest. We also have a big interest in cultural heritage, and we've done a lot of, applications using holograms, VR, AR to present cultural heritage to young and old and adults to capture their interest. And this is also another museum that we are currently working on to put a virtual museum where you can, like you see here on the screen on the top left, you can create your own AR virtual museum in your space. We have also done some work for Lego, for Disney, and this was back in the beginning of our work in 2011, actually with the Egmont, the publisher of Disney in Denmark. We developed, I believe it was the first experience.
Majed, time's up. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see if we have a question from investors.
Yes, please.
Okay. Raise your hands. No question.
I hope that's a good sign. Thank you very much.
Shall we move forward? Okay, maybe later. Okay, good.
If there is time. I was curious about if you have any learning design expertise inside the company. I want to understand how much your company is betting on the learning market as opposed to other possible market and business opportunities.
Yes, of course. We have actually, let's say, we work with a group of freelance, let's say, subject matter experts. It depends on the type of program that we're doing. We hire those on project basis, depends on what we need. So for example, now we're designing and working on a recent project that we're doing is for children to learn about space. So for that purpose, we'll hire more like a children writer who has the knowledge of space. So it's not a consistent, about our requirements when it comes to that, the design of the experience itself.
Thank you, Maged.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So now let's let's jump to Finland with Sari and the Ketoscience. Sari, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I try to share the screen.
Back to the Nordics.
And present. I hope you see it now. I will put myself here somewhere over here. All right, I'm ready. So, greetings from Finland. And I think quite many of us actually knows that the research globally says that the scientific thinking needs to be introduced for children already in their early years, because even 90% of the brain development happens before the age of 5. Yet we don't often think to introduce science to children this early, or if we want to, even educated teachers struggle how to do it without killing the children's curiosity. My name is Sari. I am the CEO and co-founder of a company called Ketoscience, and we actually provide a learn by doing platform for teachers and parents with lesson plans to lead playful hands-on STEAM education for 3 to 10-year-olds. Actually, before founding the company, less than 3 years ago, we had 5 years of academic research about how should we engage young children for science. And the answer is that with imagination, stories, play, and hands-on experiments, which is also a play for the teachers. In every kid's lesson, children play to be a real scientist, and we motivate the children through stories from a fantasy world where everything is possible. Our friends here in this picture and from the stories, they do have problems, and then the children need to help these friends from the trouble. Children have fun while they play, but they do also learn important science process skills and how to communicate their findings, which supports their scientific thinking. Also, they learn about empathy when helping the characters. Before the lesson, educator actually goes through our online platform with training, lesson plans, peer support, and supply list. So they can then have exciting hands-on activities with play with kids. But there's no need to actually order more kits and plastic in a box. You will find everything you need at your classroom or from your home or even from the nearest grocery store. Well, when COVID happened and all the schools were closed, we actually changed everything to help our teachers and families to do remote learning. We are already also won many awards about our new hybrid learning solutions. And our pedagogical innovation can now scale through different channels. And so we made it possible for our teachers to do Ketoscience lessons remotely through our live video lessons. And despite the COVID, we are now in 20 countries with kindergarten, preschools, learning centers, and in Finland in over 200 locations. We have already inspired 300,000 families in Finland through our TV show and books, so we actually know how to inspire families at home with kids. Then we developed a new home product for families to use at home, and that grows our market potential exponentially. We just made a deal with the kids tablet provider TCL that distributes now 5 million tablets with Ketoscience family app pre-installed there. Globally, there are 8 million early childhood education teachers, and there are over 800 million children in our target group.
Okay, sorry, time's up.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a question from investors?
Yes. Can you hear me, Eduardo?
Yeah, try to, we can hear you not that well, but try, Rajneesh. Thanks.
Yeah, my question is a very basic one. Given the fact that the scale you saw with the COVID happening, are you changing the model from a B2B to B2C straight to the parents or to the...
Sorry, Rajneesh, but we cannot hear you. You might write it on the chat. Okay, this is a question. Are you changing the model to B2C? This is an interesting question from India where B2C models works very well, Sari.
Yes, so actually we have now the both models. So the parents can also join Ketoscience lessons remotely. So we are testing kind of the new model now that either you can do it on demand from our platform as a parent to do Ketoscience at home, even in your kitchen. Or then we test the VIP Kids model, which is then that we have teachers who do remote lessons to your home when the kids are at home with the parent. So we can do the B2C model, but still we see that the bigger focus is with the educators and teachers.
Okay, wonderful. Let's move to the next startup. I would ask Renee Jessen from Anticipate to get ready to pitch. Renee, Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi, guys. Yeah, I'll just share this. Hang on.
Yeah, Renee is sharing his video. He's from Denmark. Welcome.
Thank you. So hi guys, my name is Renee and I'm here to introduce Anticipate. We bring history to life. While I talk, I will run this video in the background. No panic, it's not your connection, there is no audio on it. So bring history to life, what does that mean? Well, our goal is to get people out to experience history where it happened. And while they're there, they might as well participate in a piece of history themselves. Our clients are museums, and specifically museums that cover cultural heritage sites in the great outdoors, places that might not look as much as interesting with no museum buildings around and no custodians. And our means are storytelling and games. Through location-based augmented reality and a variety of tools like 360 degrees videos, voice recognition, and gamified content, we turn a collection of rocks into the dramatic center of Viking sacrifice to the gods. The benefits for the users are that they learn more about a place, and we anchor that learning via gamified content, physical exploration of the area, and an engaged narrative based on the history of the place, all wrapped up in a fun and engaging experience while you're out getting some fresh air. The benefits for the museums are also plural. At its core, Articipate is a turnkey solution for museums that helps them solve a number of challenges, from promotion of places and events to dispersing knowledge and engaging a broader audience, and also getting insights into the number of visitors to a place, questions that these visitors ask, and so on. The core solution can be expanded with customized content built around specific places or themes, where we utilize different technologies to engage with the audience, whether that be recreational use by children and families, or educators using the solution for school trips. We already have our MVP in the market with our first clients and partners on board, and we're in close dialogue with 3 other museums in Denmark who are ready to get on board next year. Here I would usually present our business model, but instead, in this play and learn context, I will take a few seconds to highlight 2 features. Connecting sites, as the blue line shows on this image, we can create an experience that connects several places in an area and have the users play their way through an entire region in a specific historic time, for instance. Voice recognition is something we are working on. We just received InnoBooster funding to develop this. Basically, our users will be able to chat with our guide and ask questions about the place they are. And by combining an AI scraper and Google's voice assistant, we can engage in a conversation with our users, a feature which obviously expands on both the fun side and the learning possibilities of our solution.
Okay, René, time's up. Thank you. Is there any question from investors? Ratnesh, I saw your hand is raised. Maybe you can write the question on the chat.
If I may ask.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. What do you see as the main strengths of your company?
It's a storytelling company, so we're used to working with knowledge partners and dispersing their knowledge to especially a young audience. So our strength is definitely utilizing tech to reach a broader audience than knowledge partners usually can. So that's, yeah, I would say that's our key feature.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Edward, can I ask just a question very quickly?
Yeah.
Very quickly. In terms of the scale up, are you going to find the distributor in each country? Because I think there is a need of customizing the contents on each country. Or do you want to do it by yourself in all the countries?
We can do both. Since it's a turnkey solution, it's quite easy to just sort of lease out. The business model is software as a service, subscription based. So we can either work with partners that create content for other museums, have museums create content on their own, and also museums are just our first vertical. So in that sense, I think we use museums as a sort of a proof of concept, and then expand on the uses of this technology to other areas quite fast. And partners in other countries are obviously welcome because it's a much faster and more efficient way to expand.
Okay, thank you. And let's go to the last startup today. I would ask Avyaya Borup from CXD HubSpots. And while she's sharing a screen, I remember that the judges are voting, and yeah.
So, sorry, I have to allow Zoom to see my screen.
Okay,
I'm sorry, it says that it will quit Zoom if I share it.
Okay, that's a nice thing of pitching.
I'm sorry.
Remember Gleb Maltsev and his
Can
advice.
I jump back in quickly when I?
You can just pitch with your voice and we will hear you.
Good. Yeah, that's so unfortunate. Yes, so I'm the founder of HubSpot and inventor. Do you recall a situation where you've been in school, you've been tired, and it's really hard to learn? Teaching has physically been carried out in the same way for the past 200 years, sitting in chairs, but we have the means to do it differently. So with a background as an architect and a PhD in interaction design, I decided to develop a tool that can make it teaching more physical, active, and engaging. So I would love to invite you to go to hubspots.dk to see the product being carried out. It's interactive tiles that you can jump on, and they're connected to an app and a speaker system. So it's really an engaging way of learning in the classroom. It started as an initial idea in 2007, but I started the company in 2014. And 3 years later, we came to market with HubSpots. So we're working together with strong partnerships with the distributors around the world. Started in Denmark, but we have growing markets in the Netherlands, Lithuania, and even Qatar is one of our big contributors. But we are currently changing from having one product fits all towards opening up the platform. So as for today, I just received a prototype. I can just show. Being one of the extensions for HubSpots, where we can start to create a physical product that can connect to many different platforms. So this is the key connector, and it's one example of connecting physical movement with coding and computers, for instance. So we're moving towards coding and moving and learning together with the HubSpots. And that's why we're looking for partners so that we can expand. Yes.
Okay, Ariaya, we will show one of your videos during the break so people will have the chance to see your product. Just check if there is a question from investors for you.
Yes.
So who are your target customers and what is the average revenue per user?
Yeah, so it's a whole unit for a school, and it's a bit costful, but it has learning content for 2-year-olds and up to 16-year-olds. And so a user would be a whole school. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. I posted the link to HubSpot in the chat. So hubspots.dk/en, then you have the English version of it. And as Eduardo said, we're going to show the video in a break that's coming up after the Mighty Eagle. So thank you all the startups for pitching, and thank you for all the investors and jury members to be watching and giving your comments in F success. And we will get back to you after we had this next speaker. Then we will also tell you more about the prices and when we're all going to get back to who will be the winner of the investor pitch for this first Play and Learn event. But now, with no further ado, back in 2014, I was in Moscow, and I was at this conference, and I stumbled into a man with a mighty eagle on his chest, and that was, of course, Peter Vestabakka, the founder and at the time CEO of Angry Birds. He's also the founder of Slush, Slush takes place in the winter and it's wet and slushy and dark and fantastic in Helsinki. We have created something called Bright, which is dry and sunny, exactly in the other end of the year. So we have this dual, the yin and yang and the ping and pong of Scandinavia or the Nordics in Slush and in Bright. But what you might not know, but you should know, hopefully Peter will tell us about it, Angry Birds is actually a way to teach physics and astronomy to everyone. If you go to YouTube, you can see some fantastic videos by NASA astronauts and with pigs and birds flying around. So it is really, if you look at it, a hidden almost play and learn. You learn a lot, but you don't really know that you're in this. I didn't know at the time, but I've taken enough time. Now it's you, Peter. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. And yeah, now that you mentioned Slush and Bright and all of that, I have to kind of like share a story on that as well, but I'll be brief. But yeah, yeah, I'm Peter, and I used to be the Mighty Eagle at Rovio and Angry Birds. And yeah, probably all of you have at least heard about it and maybe even played the game. So I think that approaching 5 billion downloads. I left the day-to-day operations already like 2016. And when I left, I said I'm going to focus on bigger things. And then I was immediately asked like, hey, what could be bigger than Angry Birds? And then I said, one thing that definitely is bigger is education. So that's kind of like one of my big focus areas was already at Rovio. We created this fun learning concept back then, so many years ago, and did some collaboration with local universities to really look at this like philosophy and method. And I really believe that you can learn anything by playing games. And I mean, I enjoy the pitches. So I listen to kind of like all the startups here, and I think that also more and more people understand the importance of fun in learning and playful learning and all of that. And I also think that more and more people understand that kind of like we really learn the best through play. And one thing on that side, I mean, a good example of like the importance of early years and also kind of like how I think it should be done. And I think that we're doing pretty good in Nordic countries with that. But many times when people from, let's say, Asia or from kind of like the outside world, they move to Finland or to a Nordic country, and then the kids, the parents put the kids into local kindergarten, and after like a day or two, they're really concerned and worried that, hey, wait a minute, you are not teaching my child anything. They're just like playing outside, and like what is going on here, that this can't be any good. And I think that then, if you look at all the kindergarten teachers here in Finland, I mean, of course, they have a master's degree and they know exactly what they're doing. And what looks at like random play, and of course, sometimes it's totally random, but it's very carefully like designed learning experiences. And again, that's how you learn. And I think that's something that is very important. But yeah, I'll get back to that. I have to mention this on Slush and Bright. I mean, one reason why Slush is called Slush and why it became kind of like now the biggest and best startup event on the planet is that everybody else was busy running around doing wannabe Silicon Valley events. So, you go to Beijing and they will tell you that Beijing wants to be the Silicon Valley of China. And in Tokyo, they will tell you that they want to be the Silicon Valley of Asia and so on and so on. And I'm sure, pretty much any city you go, they want to be the Silicon Valley of this or that. I actually started my career at the original startup that Bill and Dave started in their garage in 1939 in Palo Alto in California. That garage is still there. Okay, Bill and Dave are no longer with us, but I was fortunate enough to meet with them when they were still around. And not only, they were fantastic entrepreneurs, but not only did they start HP, fantastic company in that garage, but they started, like all of Silicon Valley. That's where it started. So I know my way around Silicon Valley, fantastic place, very inspirational, but it's already there and you can't lead by following. So with Slush, we actually intentionally went the other way. So we do Slush in November in Helsinki, and it's similar to Copenhagen this time of year. Cold, dark, slush on the ground. It's not the Silicon Valley. it's better. And it's better because it's different. And I think this is something that for also all the startups that we're pitching today, think about that. How are you different? You don't want to come across as, like just another technology company pitching something, that might be educational or might not be. So I think that you should always base everything on like the experience, and that it's actually about learning. So my example about the parents worrying about the kids not learning, hey, actually they're learning more and better and faster because they're having fun. And we all know that if we enjoy what we're doing, the results will be better. It's like very, very simple. At Rovio, when we made games, we always said that, hey, we don't do these focus groups and all of that stuff. We are making games that we love to play ourselves. And then also that everybody in the company loves playing games, loves making games. In fact, Rovio came out of a game making competition that I did back in 2003. Niklas, Kim, and Jarno, they won the competition, came to me and said that, hey, we're students here at Aalto, we won this competition, what should we do? And I said, very simple, you should do what you love to do. You love making games, so why don't you start a company to make games? And then they started Rovio, and okay, Angry Birds happened as the 52nd game, so it wasn't the first. But anyway, then people are always worried about screen time and, hey, my kids play, games way too much, and, like we need to limit it and like blah, blah, blah. Every parent knows that, that's like the best babysitter on the planet. You give your phone or iPad to your kid and then you can like do whatever. So that's just like how the world works. And I believe that we need to basically take this into account. And when we now talk about fun learning and learning games and like learning in general, we need to make it fun because we're competing with the best games, the Angry Birds and the other games, and we're competing with, whatever is on Netflix or, let's say Disney Plus, of course, nowadays is like the big thing for kids and every family needs to have a subscription or two. But anyway, so the thing is that that's reality. And what we need to do is that we need to then make sure that the games that we create are as good as anything else out there, just like the real games, if you will. And I don't want to hear, anybody telling me that, when we look at like a learning game or something like that, that Peter, you have to understand, it's a learning game, meaning that it's an excuse for doing a game that your kids would never play unless you force them. And I mean, that's a losing proposition. There's no way you're going to win that because when you look away, they will play the real game. So the games that we create and the learning experience that we create have to be as good as the best entertainment. And I always talk about this like triple E model to transforming like everything. So education, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. Entrepreneurship to me is just about like getting the stuff done. I mean, education, obviously foundation for everything, but then entertainment, I think that we should always throw into this mix and really look at, how are we competitive? How do we get the attention? How do we compete for people's time? It's super, super important. And no matter what game your kids play, they will learn. And I always use this example, again from Finland, but I think most Nordic countries would share the same experience. And we've been studying this since the 80s. Boys in Finland speak better English than the girls. Why? Because they play more games and the games are in English. So they end up with a better vocabulary and hence better English. So it's not like the boys wake up and, oh, let's beat the girls in English and study really hard. No, they actually learn the English because they have to, because the games are in English. So they basically end up with better English while having fun playing games. Fantastic. They don't even realize that they're learning. And I think this is something that is super important, that we need to build games that when you play the game, you don't even realize that, hey, wow, I'm playing, this massively multiplayer game online and I'm learning about leadership, how to manage a team, and whatever it might be. Or sometimes I'm just learning English or physics, like the Angry Birds example. We teamed up with NASA back in the day and we actually did this whole like solar system update. And we were actually also trying to bring planethood back to Pluto because that was when they had that, whatever mission it was to kind of like go to Pluto. But anyway, we didn't get the planethood back for Pluto yet, but let's see. but we had hundreds of millions of clicks supporting the cause because it was in the game. And also when you played that game, you then learn about, the different planets, random facts here and there. We created fantastic videos where we had like real experts, astronauts, others sharing, facts in the middle of the game. So instead of having, these not so amazing ads that we all know interrupt our game experience, we can interrupt that with, actually like educational content. And this is something that we could do with like pretty much any game out there. So I think there's a big opportunity to do those kind of things. But anyway, so I really think that we need to basically live in the world we are in. So taking into account that we are competing all the time for the attention and for, the time. So I really believe that the way forward is that we need to bring the best pedagogues and the best game designers together, because the pedagogues can really learn from the best game designers. How do you create engagement? Because if you make a game today, not only do you need to get people to download it. I mean, there are hundreds of new games every day, already hundreds of thousands out there. So download the game, start it up, play it, and then come back, ideally like many times a day. So we want to create learning experiences that are very, very addictive. We want to addict people to learning. And that's like a very, very tough thing to do, but that's what we have to do if we want to be competitive and if we want to actually make sure that our kids learn better, faster than we ever did. So I think that there's a big opportunity there, but it's not easy. But I mean, who cares about doing easy things anyway? So
exactly.
Let's see how it goes.
Kitos. There's a couple of questions or related. I also immediately thought about when you made the comment about boys playing more games. Is it because most of the heroes are men or young men? And I can see that Sari has a question about, do boys play more games than girls? Should we also create more games that are interesting for girls, or should they be unisex?
Yes.
And there's two of the participants think that what we should, and also one from Estonia, Merta, is saying that we need to have games specifically designed for girls as well. So what's your take on that?
So first of all, good news is that, I'm now talking about like research that has been done like since the 80s. And I mean, if we think back into the era before things like Angry Birds, actually every day, even now, people come up to me and say that, okay, I never play games, I play Angry Birds, or more typical, my wife never plays games, but she plays Angry Birds. So, like this is kind of like, but nowadays it's like everybody plays games. I mean, it's just like normal, but we used to be in a world where only like gamers played games. So it was a very like specific hobby, and most of the gamers were boys and men. So that's just like the way it was. Now I think that it has started to even up. So probably, we can see that in the research as well. But of course, games, and I mean, like all services, they should be designed for everybody. But I think also if you look at, the gaming companies and all of that, unfortunately, we're still in a world where, we're suffering from who was interested in games back in the 80s. They are the guys creating the hit games now, or, 70s, or, so if you go way back. But I mean, the thing here is that we need to bring more women and girls into, let's say, technology in general, into, like the whole STEAM and STEM scene there. So I think that's, no different with games. And I think that very important there is to highlight then, really like role models and these, like heroes of gaming. And then we should bring out, that there are actually many women in games industry. Not enough, but I mean, if you look at some of the best companies, it starts to be, if not 50-50, but it starts to kind of getting there. So it's not all bad, but we are suffering a bit from our like past, and I think that time will kind of like address that challenge.
Excellent. Kiitos paljon, Peter.
Thank you.
you can actually, for you guys, you can actually go on, this is CBNet, our webinars that we have. And here we have actually, you know, Harry Kopponen, this big guy.
Yeah.
We've had, he helped us rediscover the Angry Birds universe and the movies and the TV series and the games. And I even showed him some photos I took from a bakery in Madrid of some Angry Bird cakes that you could buy there. Probably not under license, but that's a different story. But thank you very much, Peter, for being here. We have been going now for 2 hours and 45 minutes, more or less. And I think we need a little mental break. It's not very pedagogical to continue like this nonstop. I'm sorry about that. I'm breaking all the good rules. So we will now take a 4 or 5 minute break, where you can get some coffee or wash your hands or what you need to do. I believe we have the video for Abiyaya that was missing for HubSpots that we will show during the break. So we will be back at, yeah, that's in 4 minutes, at 4:30 exactly for the next panel. 4:30, we will all be back, but don't leave, don't leave. See you in 4 minutes. I'll do it. Yes, we are about to start up again. We still have maybe half a minute to go. This has been a rather exciting afternoon, I must say. I learned so much. And what you saw during the break was, you saw 3 Danish startups, from Denmark on HubSpots and mystery makers. And we also had the world of Hans Christian Andersen. I'm threading a bit water right now, and I'm doing that because actually we're going to have Eduardo back in his seat in the driver's seat. Now, Eduardo, it is 4:30 in Central Europe. And now we are ready for the last panel. Fear not, we will make sure that it's being interactive and you can ask questions, and that we will end on time. We will see what we can do about the last part of it. We're now running a little bit late. So Eduardo, take over from here.
Okay, so we're ready for the last panel of the day. And now we will talk about play and learn beyond cultural differences. You know that when you develop a solution for learning or learning through play, one of the issues is how I can scale it up, how I can replicate in other countries and make it successful elsewhere. So we will ask this question to some wonderful speakers. I would say that some of them are startup founders, others are experts and ecosystem builders, and several are both, because it ends up that you start your own business and then you help others to grow theirs. So welcome to Mart Arrow from Nordic Acting Forum and many other initiatives.
And a former Creative Business Cup participant from Estonia.
Yeah, a great participant to CBC. And then Alberto Corti from the Stockholm School of Entrepreneurship. And then Vivian Laidini from Hong Kong. Welcome, Vivian. And it must be late over there. And then Mia-Stina Eikala from Nuco Helsinki. Welcome. And then jumping to Guatemala with Daniel Monroy from Ultraludic. And here again, another jump to Kazakhstan with Andrew Nolan from EduStep. And then back to Denmark with Kasper Skjørgen from World of Hans Christian Andersen. And then back to Italy to a small village called Santo Stefano Belbo, where Pierluigi will tell about Bitwheel. So welcome, guys. And I will leave the floor to Mart. How can we make play and learn solution cross-cultural and successful worldwide?
Hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be invited, and you of course put the simplest question on the table. I've looked at innovation of education for the past 16 years, or a bit more.
Sorry.
Everything good? Yes. All right. So, and I think if you look at the successful education innovation, then the startups are the most vital part of developing interesting tools that are applicable across borders. And of course, what is important to know here is what we call microservices-based approach for education development, meaning that all the startups are looking at narrow verticals of education development or concrete learning bites. What they want to help people to learn in the best possible quality in the world. And there is so many great examples in the N8 region, but also beyond that in the startup world. But I'll share my screen for a second and show a little bit what we have been working on in the region. So as Eduardo mentioned, I'm representing N8, which is the Nordic EdTech Forum, which brings together innovators in education who want to get to know each other and maybe also collaborate and share experiences with each other and to learn from each other as well, to become more effective in working internationally. Together with all of the countries around the region, we have set up an initiative called Teach Millions. And yes, we have startups from 8 countries that joined this initiative to make their solutions available as a COVID response. About 125 companies have joined this, and I'm really happy that we were able to make this happen. The platform enables teachers and learners in need to find learning solutions that could help them in the situation where they don't have access to face-to-face learning. And I'm sincerely very thankful for the company founders who decided to join this initiative. And I hope that everybody has also benefited from this exposure as well. If you want to get to know me or get in touch, just add me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest. But here's also my email address and my personal website address in case you're interested to learn more about what concretely we are working on.
Wonderful, Matt, and we'll talk more in the future about your wonderful projects, and because you are definitely one of the great members of this new community that we launched. And now I will pass to Alberto. I know that Alberto is very active not only in the edtech field but also in developing learning projects that can scale and help startups in a larger area.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Alberto and I work at the Stockholm School of Entrepreneurship. To answer your question, so how to make play and learn initiatives successful worldwide, maybe I give a little bit of a context of what we do there. So we are a private institution, 20 years old, that is very active in teaching entrepreneurship, primarily at PhD and master level in Stockholm. So what we do is academia, and we are deeply rooted in this complex world of academia, where sometimes entrepreneurs or generally companies have a hard time selling and implementing their new technologies. So besides teaching, which is not my role, what we do at SSES and what we are launching now is something called Learning Lab. One of the functions of the Learning Lab is, if not the most important, is one to bridge edtech companies with academia. And that's not super easy because most of you, especially the entrepreneurs in here, know that it's very hard to sell and to someone who is not the user. So in academia, for example, we have two types of users of an edtech technology. That could be the teacher or the student, whereas the customer is never the teacher or the student, or very seldomly, but it could be the university itself, for example, or a specific department. So I think, to answer your question, what we are trying to do to make many play and learn and edtech activities in general successful in Sweden, but around the world really, because it is an open network, is bridging the academia and the edtech world by simplifying this transition, simplifying the sales process, simplifying the implementation of edtech initiatives to our faculty. And it's just through bridging, through warm introductions and explanations, that the entrepreneurs really get a warm welcome into classrooms at universities, then initiate their sales process and get solid partnerships. So that's what we're trying to do. And we collaborate internationally across cultures. We have a close relationship with Helsinki Alto Ventures program, and our faculty is bridged with them, and they exchange knowledge about this edtech integration in their classrooms. So for any startups in edtech that wants to join, or anyone else who wants to be involved, we are very happy to.
Great, Alberto, and I hope you will be here for our next meetings, because we need this kind of connections. And now I will move to Hong Kong. So when I met Vivian, I realized that anything was going on the edtech and learning innovation field in Asia was connected to Vivian somehow. So Vivian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How do you look at play and learn from Hong Kong?
I'm coming from like academic background. I was teaching before. So I think similar to what Alberto was just saying, I see a huge gap between academia and also tech companies, because in Hong Kong in general, all the academia, they're very skeptical about introducing all these ed tech because there are a lot of procedures. So if we want to make ed tech, products successful, we have to find a bridge to connect academia with all these ed tech, because we have a lot of interesting ed tech products as well. But I think academia, they're still very slow in adopting all these ed tech. So I think that's the situation in Hong Kong. And also we need to support the teachers, because teachers are not very yet ready to bring this ed tech product into the classroom, because it's about disrupting the normal delivery, the normal like formal curriculum. Because in Hong Kong, the curriculum is very intense. It's also very examination oriented, which may make it a bit like hurdle for all these creative ed tech learning to play to be introduced to the classroom setting in Hong Kong.
Sorry, any other comment on the cross-cultural potential of play and learn?
I guess in Hong Kong, the funny thing is like traditionally, or even culturally, I think the parents, especially these days, they are not very open to this idea of learning to play, because they want to look at results. But then I think there's some educators who are trying to bring this kind of learning to play concept into like kindergarten. We have like Montessori and even some other private schools which introduce like learning to play into the curriculum. So I see that as a very positive sign of having more learning to play to be brought into classroom, especially starting with the kindergarten. Primary and secondary, it might take a little bit longer. Whereas I see changes in the tertiary, sector where we're trying to bring in more like learning to play elements into projects, into training students with the skills that they need for future work.
Great, Vivian. And you mentioned kids, and now that we moved to Helsinki with Mia-Stina, I must admit that when I spent a year there, it was amazing seeing kids playing and using the city as a playground, no matter the weather. So when I went back to Italy, I explained to my friends, look, in Helsinki, kids play outside, even if it's -17. There's a rule that if they go -19, then they have to stay into the school. So try to imagine what does it mean for Italian mothers saying so. They were desperate when I told them so. But they said that we need to learn a lot from Helsinki. So Mia-Stina, the floor is yours. Can you hear us? I see that your mic is open. Maybe she has some trouble with the...
She would like me to say something for her.
Yeah. Yeah, Mats, you can.
Oh, I've met Mia-Stina, and she's a really lovely person. I really hope that she can come live, but her mic is open, but we can't hear her.
Yeah, I'm checking. But as we wait for Mia-Stina, I would jump to Daniel in Guatemala. Daniel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How does it look like from Guatemala? We recently met many interesting startups thanks to the Creative Business Academy from America and South America mainly. So what does it feel like, play and learn in Guatemala?
Well, in my country, it's like a new concept too for playing and learning. For us, that we are trying to bring this development using games for trying to show some cultural things. It's a challenge because there is a wall between the traditional school to using the games or entertainment things to show content. But I think that as the technology is advancing, this will be like normal. Right now, the situation with the COVID, it forced everyone to use technology. So I think that many of our countries here are using online platforms, as many of we see here. But for us, is trying to use the games to change and transform contents that are not in the traditional education. Yes.
Yeah, but say also something about ultraludic, because we are interested in
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
do.
Can I show you something? Can I share?
Yeah.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So our experience is that we have development for many things using entertainment to connect with user for brands. So we use many technologies to interact. So we are like a experience seeing how people interact with development and contents with many fields. And one of experience was trying to share our culture through a game like a few years ago. So we see that many people are interested in culture, but one of the challenges that trying to share the culture to another culture, it's quite difficult because people are like they love their culture. So we had to change many things that I don't know if this word exists, but it's like a transculturation, something like this, because we have to change. For example, in this game that we are updating right now, we are using a character from other cultures, so people want to know about the Mayan ball game. But we found that many people love culture, and many young people learn about this. We make a test in our country, and we got like 85% of knowledge using the game in the school. So we think that this is a nice option to.
Well, Daniel, I hope you will join
Yes.
us for the next pitching session. So apply for the next event. It's likely to be the 30th of November. It's a safe date for everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Andrew, can you hear us? We're ping-ponging from America to Eurasia, they say. Now we have Kazakhstan.
That's right. So hello from Astana. So just to sort of give you an update on what the state of play is here in Central Asia and Kazakhstan. So it's a bit of a funny one. We have night and day. So if you're looking at the K-12 space, play is kind of a big black hole. And that's because it's a very, very set curriculum, which is very, very rigid. However, the good news is that the rest of the market is very, very fertile. So you have kindergartens, study centers, universities, workplaces. You're starting to see games being brought into them. You're starting to see a lot more adoption of EdTech and a lot more innovative approaches. So our problem is that there is a very monopolistic approach here, in one might say, in Central Asia from the government. So as a result, if you are in their window of influence, that's how it works. Now, with regards to games, the funny thing is games are actually now being pushed in K-12, but only if they are traditional. So here in Central Asia, we didn't have traditional games because the Soviet Union was here previously. And as a result, the old Kazakh sports and the old Kazakh games are coming back into the school curriculum. So this is where you're starting to see changes, and they're teaching numeracy through games such as throwing bones and spinning tops. So it's a very interesting new approach to doing things. Now, in terms of sort of looking at solutions in Central Asia, if you are looking at the extracurricular space and study centers, it is a very vibrant, very, very rich community, and there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. And what we've found is that when you approach after school clubs, parents accept play-based learning. But if you're talking about play-based learning being accepted within the school curriculum, I think it's very similar to what Vivian was talking about in Hong Kong. I think you hit kind of a brick wall with many parents. But that said, over time, I think it will soften.
Well, as I said, there's a lot of work to do for all of us in order to make play to be accepted as a learning paradigm worldwide. And here
If
again,
it's not the curriculum, they're happy.
yeah.
But if it's the curriculum, they're not happy.
Yeah, but you know, play is it's really serious. So we need to put them into the curricula. Yeah, we all agree on that. So Mia-Stina is back, and Mia-Stina, I was just saying that in Helsinki, the whole city is a playground, isn't it? Now we cannot hear your voice. Check your mic. Yeah, apparently we cannot hear you. So let's shift to the next panelist. Mia-Stina, I hope you will be here.
No, yeah.
Yeah, now we can hear you. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about technical topics. Nice to be here, Eduardo. And yes, it's true that Helsinki City is a true playground for the learners. So we have quite open and trustful startup and edtech ecosystem. And I have this edtech vertical for the city of Helsinki. And one of my deal flows into the edtech startups is this Helsinki City's testbed, meaning that we have been setting up the testbed for learners and for startups, so that startups from Finland so far, they have managed and they have the position to test and develop their products and services in Helsinki City schools and also in kindergartens. So it has been a huge momentum for them, and also the possibility to test with the learners. And what Alberto from Stockholm just mentioned from the academics and teaching possibilities when combining them. So greetings from the field for Helsinki City's edtech ecosystem. So now we are setting up the physical Helsinki Education Hub next year for the Helsinki City Center, where we bring this testbed for learning into the Helsinki Education Hub, and then we combine the edtech startups and learners and academics and corporations and investors. So it is going to be a big thing and quite unique in the world. So I'm looking for the cooperation from all of you and also from Stockholm. Thank you.
This is a great news, and thanks, Mia-Stina. Now we will move to Denmark again. And Kasper, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes. So now
Wonderful.
we're moving back to Denmark with World of Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah.
This is the author that makes the whole world dream about Denmark.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I represent a startup called World of Hans Christian Andersen, but it could just be a world of almost anything. Stories are universal, and that's the language that binds together human beings. It's been around since we sat around the campfire, and it is what drives learning and playing. I've been making educational games here in Denmark for more than 10 years, and fortunately, the market in Denmark is very play-based. You can easily sell educational games with a play theme on them, both to schools, universities, high schools, and private persons. As you might have seen Mads Lind from Mr. Makers present earlier. One of the things that I think that Peter Vestabakka pointed out very, very well is that some of you guys who are making apps for the educational market are competing against what's called AAA titles, which would be huge computer games, and that you need to stand out. And that's what we experienced in Denmark, that going into a computer-based or app-based learning process or learning game is dangerous because people will gladly try it, but they won't stick by it because it's not a AAA with $100 million production value. Furthermore, I think that many times that when we do games, and we being all of us here, we need to make sure that the motivation to learn is there. Often I've seen both apps and analog educational manuals try to sell education or play just as it is, with no motivational factors. They just think that kids want to learn, and kids don't want to learn, they want to play. And if they learn through the play, they love it. Absolutely, they're like soaking it up. But I think that we as educational frontrunners in a play and learn environment should be very, very careful to remember to motivate our customers. Thank you.
Okay.
I would maybe like to mention that and a couple of other stories that they know around them.
Yeah, and talking about literature, I just say that, well, I have to say that 8 years ago, I was running a blog about my city, Torino in Italy. And at some point, this guy here, Pierluigi, who was pretending to be the Italian author Cesare Pavese on Twitter, made me a call. And basically what happened in my life during the last 8 years, it's all because of him. So Pierre, are you there?
Yes. Yes, I know. Thank you, Eduardo, and thank you, Rasmus, for hosting me today. Yes, it was our story started 8 years ago, when here in Santo Stefano Belbo we started this social reading game, as we call it today. That is a sort of experiment. We try to find a new way to put in contact readers and books. And so we created this social reading game through our application that today we call it Bitwheel. And so what happened on Bitwheel? Social reading games on Bitwheel enable readers to meet each other's and socialize through reading. So if we want to answer to the previous question, how can we cross the border with our solution? I think that the easier answer is to starting from communities, because Bitwheel combines deep reading and good old-fashioned reading activities with the more contemporary attraction of networking. So the idea is to offer readers in general, or students, or other niche communities the opportunity to read comment on the application around a cultural content. So what we discover with this solution, we discover that culture in general and literature in particular, in our case, could be an activator of discussion, a sort of common floor where we can meet each other starting from the same cultural background. And this is the same in every country. We started here, I live in a small village in the northern part of Italy, but the same is in a big city or in another country in Europe. So I don't know if there is a recipe to bring a solution across countries, but I think that using communities and the cultural background that every community has maybe could be a way, a road that worth taking. So, and I think that because now, especially in this period where every one of us is called to be an individual inside the community, we have to discover again our value. And using our literature, culture in general, we can discover it again. And so this could be the same in every country. So I think that starting from community, starting from the bottom, could be an easy way to cross our borders, to find a different way using what we have at our disposal today. So innovation, social networking. So could be a way that we can hit in order to come back to our human being and to be a community.
Great, Pierre. And thanks everybody for this panel. Now we leave the floor to Rasmus.
Well, even though we're a little bit late, there might be a question or two to the panel. I don't know. We had some questions underway. I know it's been a long day, and I think, I don't know if that's what Clara Vidal Carula is trying to say, that we haven't been good enough of saying thank you, tak, kitos, gracias, thank you to all of you for participating as startups or as panelists, as experts, as speakers. Any questions for any of the panelists here? The last panel started with Mert from Estonia and then ending up with Pierre from Italy. Pierluigi, sorry. We're all fine. Just want to move on. It looks like that. Oh, do any of you have suggestions for startups looking for first customers?
Great question.
Any good suggestions there? Any ideas? So, startups looking for their first customers, what should they do?
I can comment a bit on that. In the situation 9 years ago as a startup founder who was looking for first customers, and it was really depressing because nobody wanted to take us on board. But I think the honest answer is don't give up trying until you break the wall. And just being open and positive and reaching out to potential buyers is the key, and just continue doing this and be ready for no response or negative response as well. What is better nowadays is that many countries have started some kind of test beds or organizations that you can turn to as well to try to get their advice, and sometimes it can be useful. But yes, looking at today's startups, just reaching out to target audience, for example, in social media, can work. We went to a lot of conferences to try to reach out to people in various countries. So, yeah.
Thank you. There's also some good advice from Sari about launching an MVP to the customers and co-create it with the customers. From Renee, get a team member advisor that has a strong network in your customer base. And then we have a question about how we can use a subscription model in the MENA region and make it work. That's a very specific question. Anyone representing the MENA region that has an idea about the subscription model? Otherwise, we'll take it up for the Creative Business Academy, where also MENA startups are invited. Let's see here. I'm still admitting some people into the group here. Good. Well, let's wrap it up here, right? I'm looking at my colleagues. There's always someone who runs the business that you don't see, and I would like for Nasia to actually to start the video, so we can, so you also can announce the startups from IDB. That's the Inter-American Development Bank. Play and Learn. We have 2 startups present, right?
Yes. Can everyone hear me? So we have 2 startups from IADB Play Challenge. I can see Jennifer Reyna from Mexico, Genius Chanelius by Dadbox, and I can also see Regina Gonzalez, also from Mexico, and the startup name is Sistema Tak Tak Tak. Can you hear me, Jennifer?
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Hi, everybody.
I will give you the floor to speak or pitch for
So,
3 minutes.
yeah, we're doing the same format as before. You can pitch for about 3 minutes, and then we have a few minutes of Q&A, right?
Okay, so in that box, we created Genios Geniales, and we aim to provide families technology to educate their children while learning soft skills. So we created a box with 28 cards that have augmented reality, and we tell a story, a great story about 7 genies that developed the 7 intelligence of Gartner through play. So they have one activity, one augmented activity every day. And with this activity, they can do music, imagination, storytelling, and we set them with challenges that every day as a family they need to do to be able to, to win over the oblivions that are these bad people that it's eating the mind. So with this, what we want is, like, as a family, to provide tools and technologies that with a bit of time every night before going to bed, they can be have empathy in family and make sure that we have challenges with technology that help them learn skill sets. So that's what we're doing. So far, we are selling in Mexico, and we are growing through America. And thank you so much for having us here. We're thrilled to be part of this community, and we hope we can collaborate with more people doing ed and ed tech, and yeah, have a bigger scope of our game going all over the place.
Gracias. Thank you, Jennifer. And we have several of the investors from before, and I asked them also to hang out here and ask questions. Is Elena in, or Enrico, for this startup? Let me see here. No, we don't have any of the. I guess we're reaching the end of a long session, Jennifer. I would like to know why you're focused on the Americas. Of course, there's something about language that we learned before, you know, with Bohan from China, who said, well, let's just take the Chinese market. That's big enough for us. But is it also culturally easier?
Actually, we started translating the first chapter in English, so we could actually grow to Canada and the US. We have seen that in Mexico, augmented reality and technology as it is still not very well received, because they prefer to do or regular games or like virtual and video games. So we are in the middle right now. So we are translating everything into going completely virtual and into other languages. So far, you know, like the knowledge or the skills that we teach can be taught anywhere in the world. So it's not something that it's cultural, and that's something that also helps in the pursuit of growth.
Mm-hmm. I can say that if you go for the Nordic market, you have about 30 million people. And if you go for the European single market, you have some, is it with or without Brexit? I can't remember, some 450 million market. Supposedly with that many barriers.
I'm loving what I'm hearing today, because I see a culture that it's really into play and learn, that it's something that over here in, at least in Mexico, it's been a big challenge for us. So I'm loving it, and I hope we can talk and collaborate, because it's an awesome network and one that it's already there. So we love that part.
Excellent, excellent. Elena, did you also have a question? No? Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Jennifer. Then we had another startup from the IDB batch.
Yes, we have Regina Gonzalez.
Hi, everyone.
Are you there, Regina?
Yeah, can you hear me?
There you are.
Or great. My internet connection is not very good, but I hope I'm not you can hear me very good. I work, I'm part of the team of INOMA. We are an NGO based in Mexico City. And we developed a learning educational system that is formed by two platforms. One for the children for primary school, elementary school, and one for the teachers. First, I'm going to explain you the children platform. The name is tactactac.com, and there we have available. We have developed more than 100 video games. Right now, we have available more than 60 video games. They are for different mathematics, Spanish, history, arts, social-emotional education, and the children enters is totally free because we are NGO, and the children can play and learn. There's an algorithm that understands how well the knowledge of the kids and how they're learning, what are their abilities. So the site makes suggestions to the children so they can play the video games through the parallel site. The name is labtag.mx. We're putting the links on the chat. The teacher can know how to integrate these video games in their planning. We've been deploying this system in public schools because we're focused on benefiting the base of the pyramid children. So we've been evaluating each video game, the whole system, and through our experience that's been more or less 10 years, we've discovered that the teachers, the kids play, they love playing. They ask the teacher to open the schools on weekends because they really love to play and they don't have access to this technology in their communities. They just have access to computers or to internet in the school. So that the kids are very content, I might say, with this system. But what we've been discovering is that teachers are we have to train teachers to benefit from this system. So we developed LabTag, that is the site for teachers, for parents, so they can learn more about integrating game-based learning in their teaching. And now we're launching a second version, the second phase of this LabTag site, because we've discovered that the teachers have a very big load of work. So it's very complicated for them in Mexico and in most Latin America to learn new teaching techniques and also do all this bureaucratic work they have. So we're focusing on benefiting the children, but also benefiting the teachers so they can know how to integrate these video games and have reports. We give them reports through the site if the students have been playing, ability have been developing. So this can be a whole system for them to learn from their students, and the students, well, to play and learn because they love them.
Excellent. Before I ask if there are any questions, I just want to tell you guys, we're still over 50 people. That
okay.
The IDB startups, they had their semifinals last Thursday, so not even a week ago. Thursday evening, the semifinalists pitched, and then Friday evening there was an event where they announced the winners, and they also found a participants winner. They also used Mentimeter, by the way, for that. So this is really, really new for these mostly Latin American startups, but there are also some from elsewhere in the world, to be part of Play and Learn. So we just got you in. We just heard your names on Thursday and on Friday, but it's not going to stop with this. Just like this Play and Learn event is not going to stop with this. We're going to continue the network on our platform. This is .cbnet.com. That's where you can continue the conversations, and that's where we're going to upload all the content, all the chat. You can find the presentations, and we'll also upload a couple of other presentations. And I thought of one presentation that I would upload, which is one we had last summer on when to stop. Here we have two startups discussing that actually ended, entrepreneurs that ended their startup. It was a winner of Creative Business Cup 2012 from the Netherlands, when to realize that you should actually move on. I think that's also good sometimes to remember that there is a point when you should do that. Not I'm saying that that should happen for any of the startups we heard today at all. I wonder if there's any that have questions for Regina. I can tell you that tak, tak, tak is thank you, thank you, thank you in Danish. So very fitting.
Oh,
Any
yeah.
any questions for Regina? If not, then I think I will give the word back to Eduardo for the results of the investor pitch earlier today. And you guys, Jennifer and Regina, you will be, of course, invited back to other events where we make sure that you are in the beginning, where everyone is fresh and not here after almost 4 hours of.
Thank you, Rasmus.
One word of advice: be careful when the Lebanese offers you alcohol. Okay, just a small word of advice. Okay, now Eduardo.
Okay, so this is an announcement for all the startups that are here pitching and talking as panelists, and those that applied via F6S. We had more than 100 startups applying for this challenge, and this is the message. Get ready to apply again. We are hosting a new event in a few weeks, 30th of November, save the date, with our Slovenian friends. And so the Play and Learn community has just begun. We'll make it bigger and bigger, and you're welcome to pitch and compete with us. So now I will ask one of our guests, an old friend of mine, Elena Bonifazi from Pearson in Milan, to announce the winner of this challenge. Elena, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank to all the network and to all the startups, because all the projects were really interesting. So it wasn't so simple to vote from my point of view. And the winner is the startup Ketoscience with the presentation of Sari Hurme-Metala, that I hope to pronounce well.
Oh my God, thank you. You pronounce it really well. Sari Hurme-Metala. I always say only my first name because the last name is too difficult.
Congratulations. Thank you, Elena. And Eduardo, maybe you should say what you are up for now of prizes, Eduardo.
Yes. So, Sari, these are the prize that you get through this challenge. First of all, access to Bright 2021. I would say that Bright is the innovation festival that Creative Business Network runs every year, and believe me, next year it will be big. Then, of course, online conversation with stakeholders and investors, mentorships on specific topics such as business, design, pedagogy, and technology with the many mentors and friends from the Creative Business Network that I want to remember you is present in more than 80 countries in the world with different national partners, a wonderful community of innovators. And then, of course, promotion through our website and communication channels, a special invite to join us for the next editions of the Creative Business Academy. And last but not least, I do not remember if you are a finalist yet, but you are invited by our new partner, Reimagine Education, to join the event from 9 to 11 December. And of course, this event is for all your team members.
Thank you. I already paid for the pass for the Reimagine Education, and we are shortlisted for the Hybrid Learning Award.
Oh,
so happy to
wow.
be there. But maybe now I can give the access also to other team members to join. And amazing. These are really, really amazing opportunities. And I hope I can share any of these learnings from what I get from these, how do you say, prizes. I hope I can share those also to other EdTech startups here in this event as well, and for the others as well. Thank you so much. This is really, really nice.
Congratulations. And for those of you who think that Finnish is a difficult language, you're wrong. A helicopter is called helikopteri, and a banana is called banani. So it is actually not that difficult. Isn't that right, Sari?
Yeah, that's right. So yes, you should all learn Finnish. It's really easy.
And just like Italian, you pronounce pretty much everything you see. So,
exactly, really easy.
So ending on this high note, thank you, everyone. I want to say tack, tack, tack. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all the startups, to the experts, to the jury members, to the investors, to the keynote speakers. A big thank you to Eduardo Montenegro, and also to Nasha, whose last name I still have to learn correctly, so I'm not going to butcher it. And yeah, to all of you for being part of this. Please stay connected. And if you want to see these presentations and also other stuff, yes, go online. It's really easy to go online to our network. This is cbnet.com. And here you can also find out what goes on with creative industries in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in the Americas, women's entrepreneurship, deep tech, AI, etc., etc. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you very, very soon again. And also in real life, actually, I'm a very physical person. I like to hug. So let's do that next time or very, very soon. Okay? Thank you.
Bye-bye.